Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the place they call Too Tough to Tame as we get all set to go for the Darlington 191 for the Northwest Cup Series. Live on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Greg Rentz. We also have Wesley Outland with us down to the pit lane. Charles Wooden's in the director's seat for what should be an exciting 140 laps, 191 miles. You talk about a difficult track to get ready for after a break with the newest build on iRacing, Greg. Darlington with overcast skies, the toughest one I can think of.
This is without a doubt the toughest track on the NASCAR circuit. They don't call it the track too tough to tame for nothing. If you want to get a win here, you've got to dance with the lady in black. You've got to get on our good side, and you got to do it right away. Because if you get on our bad side early and you get the famous Darlington stripe within the first couple laps, it could be a long night for you here. And 140 laps the distance tonight on the track too tough to tame. Justin, I can't think of a better way to come back, a little bit of a hiatus for the Cup Series, because this is going to be a wild night tonight.
Qualifying starting in just a few minutes or so, but first things first, let's talk about the last time we were on the Cup Series schedule. That was at Richmond after 200-plus laps. It was Seth Fraser finally breaking through after a long cold spell to win in what was a crazy race at Richmond. Your thoughts on what we've seen at the short track last time by, at the action track specifically?
I thought it was a great race, Justin. We saw so many opportunities from so many different drivers come and go, and you were seeing really a battle of wits right there at that track, seeing who was going to be able to outsmart everyone at the end. Richmond's a tough call. You have a lot of cautions at that track, and we had a long green flag run, Justin, so we thought maybe, okay, we're going to be able to make it through most of that race, but then the cautions started coming near the end, and at the end, it was a little bit of a gutsy move on Seth Fraser's part to make that call near the end and made it work, getting the win at Richmond for his third of the season. But like you said, he was on a cold streak going into that. I believe just one top five in the last, 8 or 9 races before that win last night, or last time out. So definitely one to watch out for, Seth Fraser, and we mentioned it a little bit in practice. He's celebrating that with a new paint scheme tonight.
We'll talk about that paint scheme a little bit more as qualifying is underway. Now that victory, though, also tied up for the most wins so far this season with Sean Brightsman in the points lead entering tonight's race. In what has been a competitive championship so far is Dan West Jr., who also has 2 victories and 3 poles. Jeff Stabnow, Chris White, Seth Fraser, Sean Brightsman, the top 5 of the point standings. They're separated from 483 points for the leader, Dan West Jr., to just 406 for Sean Brightsman. Just 6 different winners so far entering Darlington, Greg.
6 different winners, and one of those winners definitely has to stand out. Bruce Lee Weaver in the 40. Remember, he stole the win at Michigan on the strategy call, and he's the first one to go out for qualifying. And Justin, he already got the Darlington stripe. His first qualifying lap did not count because he scraped the wall, so you don't want to get the Darlington stripe on the qualifying lap. But Bruce Lee Weaver, the winner earlier this season at Michigan, he's probably the big feel-good story of the season thus far. And he said before the race that he feels like he'll be in the top 20, which is kind of a joke because there's just over 20 cars there. So Bruce Lee Weaver is basically saying that he's not too confident about his day, and he just hit the wall again. But he did get a lap, 28.156 hit for second. But look on top of the charts, Justin. It's someone who we had never heard of before tonight, and he just sat on top of the charts in practice. Josh Marcy in the 35 car making his debut tonight, and he's currently sitting quick time.
Brand new driver to this series, didn't take part of the truck race just a few days ago. Brand new and showing good speed already on the top of the pylon. Also setting times for different drivers. Ricky Boser now 4th in qualifying, John Ottenbacher 3rd, Weaver in 2nd, and Marcy in 1st. But the reason I think a lot of drivers are nervous about this race tonight, and with just 20-plus drivers on the track inside the garage area, is it's a tough track. And keep in mind, it's only 75 degrees track temp, 73 air temp, most of cloudy skies. So when you add in that extra bit of speed here tonight, Greg, it could be a difficult one.
Absolutely, Justin. A little extra speed is going to be huge here tonight. This cloudy overcast means a lot more grip in the track, and when there's more grip, there's more speed. And at a track like this, when you're already flying around the wall as close as you are, it is wild. We saw the thing in the Cup race on Sunday at Homestead. Drivers were riding up near the wall. At this track, that's the only thing you can do. You're right up on that wall the whole time, and that's where the Darlington stripe comes into effect as well. So when you're flying around next to the wall at about 180, 185 miles per hour, it gets a little hairy up there sometimes. So this race isn't going to be a race of who can keep their car off the wall. It's going to be who can recover the best when they hit the wall.
Yuri scraping the wall that time as Smith. Some sparks coming from just being next up to that safer barrier. First lap would count. No, it does not. Does trigger the contact with the right front fender. Now, Kevin Smith also had some difficult parts in practice. Was top 5 in the session with a 27.706 as his quickest time. But was also nervous about the attrition potential here, Greg, tonight. Track position could be very vital with it being an attrition-filled track.
Oh, absolutely, Justin. I mean, 140 laps at this track, you're going to be on the wheel the whole time, so you're going to have to show patience and really show a lot of patience in that. Sorry, I got distracted because Kevin Smith just went to the top of the board to the first 27 of the night, so good lap there for Kevin Smith. But going back to your point, race of attrition for sure. We know how long and tenuous this race can be and how much wear and tear this puts, not just on the car, but the human body as well. So you got to be up on the wheel the entire time, and you got to pace yourself in the early stages.
Brightsman across the stripe this time on his second lap. Also jumps to the 27s. New pole sitter, 27.947, set by Sean Brightsman. Again, showing that pace he has had in qualifying every time this season. Now, on track for the second lap, and this is a car you were looking forward to. The 32 of Seth Fraser, and we've joked about this a little bit in the past with his railroad racing career. Now brings it to the virtual world tonight for its debut.
Well, first off, I got to say it matches his real-life car that he ran for a couple of years at his home track in Wenatchee Valley Super Oval. Logos aside, the paint scheme very much represents Seth Fraser colors, purple and black. But myself, being a WWE fan, Wesley down on pit road as well, we both absolutely love the Paul Bearer funeral parlor car on the track tonight. Right, Wesley?
Oh, yes! Hey, it's a fun time here in Darlington. We're ready to go here for this event. Guys, another thing we really haven't talked about is it is really overcast. So what does that do with your race car? Handling and setup is going to be a prime precision moment here tonight at Darlington for the Northwest Cup Series. The drivers that can hit their setup at the beginning, and as we transition from this heavy cloud cover into the night, will be the one on top. We'll find out, and I'll cover all the action on pit road.
Darlington stripe for Chris White, and remember, fixed series for tonight, so you have to be able to adjust your driving style to how that setup is for these cars. And as we've seen, many drivers in practice had several Darlington stripes throughout the session.
Yeah, already several drivers with Darlington stripes. Dan West Jr. to the top of the charts. No shocker there, as we know how fast that 55 is, 27.933, and he does not get the Darlington stripe, it looks like, as he's going to come flying down and get both laps. 27.843, he's the first driver to go in 8 so far in this qualifying session. Justin, fast time in practice was a 27.6 by newcomer Josh Marcy in the 35, a 6.58. Second was Dan West Jr. 6.92. So we've seen the times drop a couple of tenths of a second. That's not really common for a cloudy day. Typically on a cloudy day, you expect the speeds to pick up a little bit, but it's kind of been the opposites so far this qualifying session.
James Viney across the stripe this time, up to P4 at 28.001 on the charts. And that car looks to make sure it doesn't have just the Darlington stripe to worry about. Yes, that is a cat on the hood. Remember a few weeks ago, Wesley, when a cat attacked him?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And by the way, I just spoke to him just a few moments ago with his crew, and he says, hey, Wesley, Cat is all locked into her 5-point safety harness in the passenger seat, LOL. Have a new hood paint off Abby the Attack Cat, since she has been a weekly mention for my career here in iRacing. So, yes, keep an eye on that 333 of James Vining. The Cat is in the passenger seat, virtual style. This should be a good thing to watch.
Absolutely. He mentioned to me as well with that cat that when he was trying to get a photo of it for that hood, got close up, was very curious about what he had in his hand. Got lucky with that close-up shot that's on the front hood of that machine. But also a different manufacturer to talk about with the new iRacing build, and included the new Ford F-150, meaning all manufacturers represented. Stabnow drifts his Goodyear Eagles hard in 1 and 2, nearly smacks the inside wall. Not a good start to his first qualifying session in a Ford Mustang Gray.
Yeah, Stabnow mentioned in the truck race on Thursday that the reason that he switched over to Ford was they did not have the Ford F-150 available for the truck, so he was running the Chevy in both of them. With the F-150 coming to the iRacing server now, that opened the door for him to run the F-150, so he figured, well, if I'm going to run the F-150, I'll just hop on the pony and take the wheel of the Mustang. Also, he painted up the Mustang to match up with his Chevy Camaro, which he has driven, by the way, 2 wins this season already, one at Bristol and one at the Charlotte Roval. But boy, he does not look like it likes Darlington, as once again he loses it. That's not a Darlington stripe. That's a hit left front tire into the wall. That's not how you want your qualifying lap to go. I don't think Jeff Stabnow is very happy with the setup right now.
Yeah, he's spent more than 70 total laps practicing. Several of those were only 1-2 lap stints. And that was a trouble spot, the exit of turn 4. Here's the tricky part with this track on iRacing. If you crash on the apron, that is below the dotted line in the corners, as well as below what is essentially the third seam from the wall, you do not get the caution unless you're on the racing surface.
And so that's going to be very important moving forward, I think, because we've seen it already with cars sliding down beneath the apron here at this racetrack in qualifying. So if that happens during the race, that may be a caution on a normal night. Boy, Stabnow still getting close to the wall. I think he may have got the stripe that time. But you get up below or down below the apron normally, that's a caution at every racetrack we go to. Not this one. So an incident that we would see bring out the caution at any other track might not bring out a caution tonight. So that could wind up playing into some drivers' hands and definitely taking away from some of them. But how about the driver on top of the charts right now? Devin West in the 5, knocking his father off. 27.801, quick time for Devin West. And Justin, I don't know if you were able to catch the truck race on Thursday, but Devin West, once again, such a strong run. But unfortunately, something just went sour for him. Got a penalty on pit road, which ultimately wound up costing him the race. He has shown so much speed in his rookie season in the Northwest Racing Series, both in the trucks and in the Cup. The winner at Homestead in the Truck Series hasn't broken through for a Cup win yet, but he has been so close so many times. On top of the charts again right now with a little over 5 minutes to go in qualifying.
Remember, drivers, though, we're told 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 Pacific with the end of Q, and a crash for Tedric as he tries to start his first lap. So 1 lap burn for his machine. He's one of the final drivers not to set a time. Corey Walters also trying to set a time with the bobble off the corner. Does not record a time either because he scraped the wall in his first lap in the Castro car.
Going back to Tedric for a moment, he's another one of those drivers who made the switch over to Ford a couple of weeks ago. We've seen 3 drivers switch over to Ford, 2 from Chevy, 1 from Toyota, the Toyota being Daryl Tedric. But that trend was started by the 83 of Chris White, who was having kind of an up and down season in the Chevy until he made that switch to Ford. And Justin, that switch to Ford has really paid off for him. Some very solid runs, including the second a few weeks ago at Kansas, sitting 3rd on the charts right now. So the switch to Ford really paid dividends to Chris White. So we're seeing a few more drivers make the switch over to Ford, trying to follow in his footsteps perhaps. Tedric, we mentioned it last time the Cup Series was in action at Richmond. He said he was just looking for something different. Justin, this is the first time Daryl Tedric has been on iRacing since that race. He has been out of the driver's seat for 2 weeks, and he's jumping right back into the Cup Series.
What a track to jump into. It was described in the pre-race briefing that tonight's race is not one for the faint of heart. We'll see which drivers are able to conquer Darlington and keep their hearts together as we take a look at your starting grid for the Darlington 191. West Family Racing on the front row. It's Devin West and his father Dan starting 1-2 tonight. Pole time 27.801. Chris White starts in 3rd position tonight with Sean Breisman in P number 4. Rounding up the top 5 in the 27-second bracket is Kevin Smith, with James Viding looking to meow his way into victory lane from 6. Joshua Marcy, the top driver in practice, starts in 7th in his debut for Northwest Racing Series action with Carl Burke and a throwback paint scheme starting in 8th. Seth Fraser starts in 9th in the Paul Bearer Funeral Power Machine, and the Ford Mustang of Jeff Stabnow rounds out the top 10 grade.
Older brother to Daryl Tedric, BJ Tedric, driving the classic Winston number 72, rolls off in the 11th spot. To his outside, another throwback scheme. Bruce Lee Weaver, the Michigan winner in this series, he's running midnight tonight. He's running in the 12th position. John Ottenbacher, the LSR TV Chevy Camaro, rolls off in the 13th position with Ricky Bozer to his outside. Quite a few good runs for Ricky Bozer as of late, looking to capitalize on here from the 14th position. The final driver to take time tonight was Dan Lowther, another driver who's been out of the seat for a couple of weeks in iRacing as he's been getting back into real racing at his home track of Meridian Speedway. I found out he tows almost 9 hours every week to go race at his track, but he rolls off from 15th from the comfort of his own home office tonight. Points provisionals for the 58 of Stephen Paulison, the 9 of Corey Walters, and the 91 of Scott Hutchinson in the 18th position. My grid is acting up a little bit weird, but rounding out the top 20 are Daryl Tedric and Frank Harris. Stephen O'Hare, the final driver on the grid tonight, but it does not look like he's going to make it in, Justin.
One pace lap here at Darlington, 1.36 miles, 4 corners here at Darlington Raceway. Wesley Owens on the radio quickly with Devin West, your pole sitter for tonight.
Hey, Devin West, LSR TV, you got me?
I got you.
Hey, man, you're on the pole. It's another West family affair here at Darlington. What's it going to take now to beat Daddy?
I think just what it's going to take to beat everybody here is attrition. You know, it's going to be a long race on 40 laps. It's 140 or 280 opportunities to hit the wall. So I think trying to keep the right side clean and stay out of any trouble. Power himself in, then should be there at the end. Gets a chance to win.
All right, good luck. We'll see how he does. Devin West, the man that will lead us to the green flag. Justin Prince as we come to green this time by.
Into the tighter radius corner they go. 23 degrees of banking in turns 3 and 4. 25 degrees in turns 1 and 2. West Family Racing in control of the field. Pace car is off as they wait for the green flag. The 5 and the 55 bring us to the green. We're underway from Darlington.
West Family keeping together on the start there, Justin, as Dan and Devin go off into turn number 1, and that's already one stripe for the 55 of Dan West Jr. as he caught the wall going into turn number 1. Almost catches it again. He may have caught it again there off of turn number 2. Devin West still trying to clear. He's got some help coming in the form of the 83 of Chris White. Not quite clear going into turn number 3. His dad's going to get a run, but no. Devin with a good run through the center. He's going to clear his father. He's going to lead lap 1.
Yes, indeed. Leads the first lap. West Jr., White, Brightsman, and Smith round out the top 5. And here's the difficult part when it comes to Darlington, Greg. Even on the short run, it can be difficult to pass because of the tightness off of turn 2 and the tighter radius of 3 and 4.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually the result of a minnow pond just adjacent to the property, Justin. When they were building this track, they actually had to characterize the turns a little bit differently to not disturb the land that the minnow pond sat on. So that's the reason for the different configuration of the turns. We are under caution already on lap 3.
It's Scott Hutchinson to the back of the field. Had to lock it up, was an 18th spot of the 91. But ended up having trouble off 3 and 4. This was a trouble spot in practice. And right here, back end, fishtailing out. You'll see it in the exit at 3 and 4. Was able to lock it up, though, and avoid any damage.
Great job there by Hutchinson to keep everything off the wall and keep it together. No damage, and that is so crucial here at Darlington. You don't want to have any damage because you only have one fast repair tonight, Justin. One fast repair in the docket tonight. So if you have to use it early, that could be disastrous here. It's costly everywhere, but if you have to use that thing early here, that could be disastrous.
So once again, West Jr., White, Brightsman, and Smith currently the top 5. O'Hare did not make it to the starting grid of note. He has already missed several laps of the early going of this race. And it's going to be interesting how strategy plays, because even a couple laps in real life, drivers only about 5 laps into a run, Greg, usually want tires. Not this race. Everyone electing to stay out except for Fraser, Hollison, along with Harris. They all come down.
Well, Justin, I was watching Dan West Jr. was kind of faking everybody out like he was made in pit, but then cranked it hard to the right, the old-fashioned pit road trick out there by West Jr., and it worked for quite a few drivers, as I thought Breitzman had actually missed the commitment cone and come down pit road, but he was able to get back up just in time. But if you're a guy like Seth Fraser, Stephen Paulson, who started near the back and was kind of struggling to get things going, yeah, I don't mind taking tires at this stage of the game and trying to get some work done early and see if you can get a little bit of an advantage on these guys in front of you.
You can see Fraser now in the pit lane, and one thing to note, he elected to go on the apron and drop to the back of the field at the start of the race. Remember, had track position, but I think based on what he's seen, he wants to try and I think let this race play out, Greg. We'll have to wait and see how the strategy call goes his way in the 32.
See if the funeral parlor has anything up their sleeves as we get going here. Started 9th, but to your point, fell back early. I happened to check in with him right before that caution came out, kind of just hang back there, let things sort out, and that might not be a bad call here at Darlington, Justin, because we know how tricky this track is and how this race can go. To kind of hang out in the back and let everything unfold might not be a bad call. That's typically what I try to do when I'm driving in a race, is I try to hang out in the back unless I'm at a track that I feel really, really confident with myself. I try to hang out in the back and just let everything kind of unfold itself, and it seems to be the strategy of a couple of guys here.
29-second pit stop, by the way, for the 32. He stayed in the pit box after his 4 tires and fuel. And Wesley Owen has an update involving that car, I believe.
Yeah, Seth Fraser just spoke to him, and he said, Wesley, we're early in this thing. I'm just going to stay in the back, stay out of trouble. There's still a lot of racing left to go in this 140-lap event. Also, the driver of the 91, Scott Hutchinson, right there in front of him at the champion spark plugs entry. Flat spot of the tires, new 4 tires on the 91 car, but no damage. A great piece of driving, keeping that Ford Mustang off the wall and collecting in the other cars when he spun to bring out the first caution.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And talk about that again here, Greg, a little bit, because it's difficult, mind you, to try and keep it off the wall here at Darlington. We talked about the Darlington stripe. It's even more difficult when you're trying to spin, and most drivers, especially the top-level drivers, know lock up the brakes if you want the best chance to slow down the car before it slams hard to the wall. He did it perfectly to make sure he didn't hit the wall any harder than just a minor scrape.
Yeah, he did that textbook, Justin, hanging on to that thing and keeping it off not just the wall but other cars as well. That was textbook by Scott Hutchinson to keep it off the wall and keep himself alive here. That was only on lap 3 of this 140-lap race. Plenty of time to recover from that one with no damage, Justin. And with no damage, he also still has that fast repair in the bank because he did not have to use it because there wasn't even a scratch on it. And I'm kind of watching him back here. I'm noticing he's kind of hanging back a little bit. Now he's catching up to the rest of the field, but doesn't seem keen to get right up on the back bumper with the car in front of him. So he knows that perhaps with the fresh tires, they're not quite as worn in yet. It's going to be just like starting a brand new race, so those tires are going to be a little bit slippery on that 91 and the 32 for that matter, as well the 58 and 11 who all pitted that time by.
Only a couple lap difference on the tires. Once again, Devin West, Dan West Jr. on the front row. Breitzman and White in row 2, Smith and Vine in row 3, Stabnell, Marcy row 4, Weaver and Burke in row 5. Pace car is off, Devin West off and away. We're back to racing at Darlington.
Much better start there by Devin West in the 5 to be able to clear Dan West Jr. going into turn number 1. His father is all over the back bumper. Meanwhile, behind him, Chris White and Sean Breitzman still battling it out. 2 of the drivers who have really been heating up as of late. Breitzman, of course, 2 or 3 wins on the year. Great job for Breitzman. 3 wins, I believe, for the 46. Knows how to get it done in this series. But Devin West led every lap thus far as he's coming off turn number 4 to lead another one. Good start again to the number 5 of Devin West, who has just had so many good runs in that LSR-TV Toyota.
Drive-through penalty given to Kevin Smith. You are not allowed to change lanes before the start and finish line. He changed lanes to the top line coming down the front straightaway. So that's going to lose tons of track position now for the 00.
It's still early, so he might be able to recover, especially if he catches a quick caution, because Justin, it looks like he may go a lap down here as he's got to go down to pit road speed just now, coming off of pit roads, and Devin West is going into turn one right now. So Kevin Smith has lost a lap as he's just now exiting pit road and able to get up to speed. Not a death sentence just yet because it's still early. He's the only car one lap down. He's in the lucky dog position, so not a death sentence yet, but his workload definitely just increased on that 00.
Marcy cycling to 7. Right now, the top 4 have ran away, though, already by nearly 2+ seconds. West Jr. still in second. Chris White, though, gained a bit of momentum last time by in the Interstate Synthetics machine and using a bit of a different line, trying to use a bit of that edge of the apron in turn 1 that a lot of drivers like that time, though, nearly sent it around. Brightsman forced to check up hard. Yeah,
Brightsman had to check up there as Chris White. I'm not sure if he caught the wall. Wow, speaking of catching the wall, Daryl Tedric, he just caught the wall big, and he is still fighting it right in front of him. Chris White suddenly is now in the position that Brightsman was just a lap ago as he's trying to now come up on Dan West Jr. Dan West Jr. has hit the wall a good couple of times right now. So these drivers are definitely wheeling it here early. Chris White, not sure if he caught the wall or not, was able to keep it off, but Dan West Jr. has definitely not had the start to the race he has won.
Fastest lap of the race so far has been set by Chris White, by the way, at 27.7. Nearly pushed up the track again. Brightsman still staying within line. Once again, this is the battle for second. They've already lost a second and a half just about to Devin West with all this scrapping and trouble amongst this grouping. And this is, again, where dirty air can come into play, Greg. At these types of racetracks and these types of battles, it can be difficult to set up the pass in this group.
Catching's one thing, passing's another. We've been saying it for years, but with this new Cup Aero package along with this car, this body of car, that has been expedited to a whole new level with this aero package. The dirty air is just so costly here if you get right up on the back bumper of someone, and we're seeing it now as White was so much stronger than Dan West Jr. for a few laps, but could not get out of the dirty air and make a move, and then that has allowed Dan West Jr. to start pulling away and allows Brightsman to come put pressure on. But same problem for Brightsman, stuck in the dirty air, can't really get a move on the 83 of Chris White. And notice that Brightsman's going much lower in at least turn 3 and 4, the old turns 1 and 2 for that matter, in the 46 as they sail off into 1 and 2 there. Much even that time as Brightsman kind of hangs out in the tire tracks of the 83, but we're seeing Brightsman really try some moves as it looks like he's going to make a move now, and White's just going to let him go.
I think he knew it was holding him up at that point. Just moved to the bottom of the racetrack. The 83 now drops back to P number 4 for the time being. It's still about a second gap between him and James Vining, who's currently inside the top 5. But with a bit of a peak, nearly took the position back, but that's now calmed down for the time being. Speaking of that battle for 5th, Vining currently holding on for the time being in front of Joshua Marcy. Marcy nearly saying hello to the wall with a right rear.
And how impressive is this for a guy making his debut in the series? This is the 3rd driver in the last couple of days to make his debut in the series. We saw 2 debuts on the Truck Series. First start ever for Josh Marcy in this number 35 car, and a very good outing so far, sitting at the top of the board in practice. When we logged in and we saw him on top of the charts, we were like, who is this and what is he doing at top of the charts at Darlington of all places? And following it up here, started 7th and currently running in the 6th position, kind of hanging back, kind of watching this battle unfold up in front of him and James Vining between West, Brightsman, and White, and they're slowly beginning to chip away at it a little bit too. So good run by Josh Marcy in the early stages here.
Behind them, there's the throwback car, the 53 of Carl Burke, now in 7th spot. Bruce Lee Weaver behind him now. This also includes John Audenbacher in this grouping. And Burke taking the nature of Darlington in real life with the Southern 500. This is the throwback race. He's with the throwback paint today. Behind them, Audenbacher with the position swap.
Yeah, but love the 53 car of Burke here this week. So simple. I've always been a big fan of the simple paint schemes, and just that light blue number 53, that just screams old school, Justin. I love that 53 car out there right now.
Now, right now, that 53, one of the quicker cars on the track, 29 flat. Leaders running 29 2s and 3s at the moment, for comparison's sake. And this is a track that is very abrasive on tires, Gray. Can see massive amounts of fall. If we talked about the major grip, some of these drivers struggling a little bit with that extra bit of speed and said grip, to the point where it almost looks like there's too much grip.
Yeah, it's really a fine line, Justin, of trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to run my car to keep the tires where you want them? The tire fall off is just so important right now. We are already seeing over a second of time fall off, almost 2 seconds in some cases, Justin. Actually, yeah, looking at it, 2-second difference between what Chris White did in qualifying and what he did that last time by. So the tire fall off is already 2 seconds in. And remember, we had a caution early. We've only got maybe 12-15 laps of green flag runs on these tires right now, and it's already fallen off a second and a half. How big is this going to get later in the run as Joshua Marcy gets around James Vining? So in his debut, Joshua Marcy back into the top 5.
He did make that position move, but Jeff Stabnow, he has been having a bit of an adventure. Off that last restart, he smacked the wall hard in 1 and 2, lost several positions, now is trying to slip inside 11th. He's had few drivers let him go, but he has been having to manhandle that car in the 29 Fords at the moment. That is still quicker than the leader, by the way.
I thought the Jeeps were more the cars that were made for adventure, not Fords, but Stabnow has definitely been on quite the adventure, like you said, kind of hanging back, but he's right around where he started. He qualified 10th and is sitting in 11th right now. Dan Lowther is up 5 positions already in the 63 right in front of him. He has broken into the top 10 already, trying to get up and chase down Bursley Weaver in the number 40, but a ways to go. It's about 4 seconds between Lowther and Weaver. So some drivers making their way through, some drivers not. Biggest move of the race so far, the 89, the LSR TV Camaro, John Ottenbacher, up 6 spots already from his starting position.
Of note, as we're discussing that, Chris White got let go by Dan West Jr. Sean Breitzman also let go Joshua Marcy, so several drivers are letting each other go as these tires go off. Wesley, though, you have an update involving the 24.
I do, guys. I just spoke with 24 and the crew for Jeff Stabnow. He said, Wesley, I bounced the car off the wall since lap 1, and since then, this car is wicked loose. I am hoping for a caution. I've got to make some major adjustments, major setups, and hopefully this car will be going down the straight and narrow path as nightfall sets in. But right now, he's got some bad handling issues.
Off note, the 45 also now down the pit lane with some trouble. That's Daryl Tedric. He was now, last completed lap was a lap ago. He had crashed on his own for 19th position after he clipped the apron off turn 2, smacked the safer barrier, and smacked the inside wall. Caution is now out on the racetrack, though. And this is the first, let's take a look what happened to 45. Ricky Bozer was the reason for the caution flag, though. You can see on the replay the 45 smacking the outside wall, spins him around, but was on the apron, so no caution. But about a lap or so later, Ricky Bozer, nearly in the same spot, did nearly the exact same thing. Here, watch the 42 in 1 and 2. And that time actually collects Paulison as well in the process, Gray.
So tough break there for Bozer and Paulison, as we are still early in this one. 26 laps on the board right now here at Darlington of the second caution of the day. Yep. But the entire field is coming to pit road, so some adjustments coming perhaps, and quite possibly some very relieved drivers.
Yeah, I think so. Pit road is now open. Here comes everyone in except Scott Hutchinson. Remember, he gets the free pass of being the car 1 lap down. Tendrick's car, who came to the pits before the caution, he said he got in the wall, some damage. He's got to make some repairs. So does O'Hare out of the race. I'll try to grab a word with him here in a second. But everyone on pit stalls, including Devin West, Dan West, Chris White, Breitzman. Exiting first is Joshua Marcy, but Marcy can't get out in time. Devin West comes on to pit road first. He'll exit first. Daddy West right behind him, followed by White, Breitzman, then Marcy. Marcy left the pit box first at his pit stall, but unfortunately, Devin West, the fast man out. Hutchinson gets the free pass. He will now come to pit road, it looks like, for repairs on his car, and we'll try to grab a word here with the 45 of Daryl Tedric and also the other driver that brought out a caution here in just a moment, guys.
With that, we'll take a step aside. When we come back, more racing action. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing from the virtual Darlington Raceway.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Welcome back, everyone, to Darlington, where Devin West leads after pit stops. Wesley Otland standing by with the trigger of the caution flag. Ricky Bozer standing by with Wesley.
I am. Ricky Bozer got me, bud. What happened out there to put out under the caution flag for the second time?
I just got real tight to the wall.
How badly damaged is your car right now?
I don't think it's too bad. We had about 55 seconds of damage, so.
All right, we'll let him get back to it again, guys. That's Ricky Bozer again. Second caution here at Darlington, but still a lot of racing left to go.
He's now making his way off the race, into the racetrack surface now, by the way, as well off the pit lane. Coming to 112 to go this time by. Lights are still on at the moment on the pace car. Greg, your thoughts on the racing action so far, which has seen Devin West control the field for the first 30+.
Devin West has been out front from the but I am loving what I've seen from the battle for second between West Jr., Chris White, and Sean Brightsman. There's a reason Darlington Raceway is on the top of everyone's wish list of tracks they want to go to, and it's not just because of Throwback Weekend, which that is an entirely awesome thing in itself, but this track produces some of the best racing in NASCAR week in and week out. Every time they come to this facility, it is one of the best races of the year, not just from a visual standpoint, but from a racing standpoint as well. And we're seeing it once again. These 3 cars, second through fourth, Dan West Jr., Chris White, and Sean Brightsman, they've been putting on a heck of a show so far in the early stages here. And I'm kind of curious to see what the 35 of Joshua Marcy has up his sleeve right now, as he's going to be back in the fold here, getting ready to enter this battle as well. He's going to restart 5th.
Of note, Brightsman having technical issues, just had to duck down to the pit lane from the top 5. Bad luck for him. But real quick, want to give a shout out to iRacing. If you've been enjoying the racing, you can join too with the world's leading online simulation. Developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service, iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. iRacing is home to a wide variety of officially sanctioned series with racing from Australian Supercars, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, Road of Outlaws, and more. With over 170,000 drivers on the service and over 80 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from, iRacing is the original esports racing game. For more info, visit iRacing.com today. Restart coming this time by. The West are in control of the field. Chris White in row 2 alongside Joshua Marcy. James Vining, Seth Fraser, row 3. Dan Luther, Stephen Paulison, despite the last caution, driving inside the top 10 with a damaged left front. Audenbacher and Walters rounds out the top 10 on this jump. We'll see how these drivers fare coming now to 110 to go. 30 laps complete this time by. West launched about here last time. This time he launches off and away. Another perfect start for the red Effective Wood Solutions car.
Dan was able to stick with him a little bit better though in the 55, but still not quite able to hang with him into turn number 1 as they sail it off. Oh, big wreck behind them. Several cars involved. I saw Ottenbacher. I see Weaver, Corey Walters. Wow, my goodness.
Track blocker brings out a quick caution flag, and Corey Walters is the trigger. We mentioned Paulison too with the damage. Paulison could not get going with that significant damage from the last caution. Walters knew he ran him over, Greg.
Yeah, that was a scary moment there for several drivers involved as Walters had to shoot up to the high side to dodge it. And Weaver, Ottenbacher, Carl Burke just gets through. And did you notice who was at the tail end of that having to slam on his brakes? Sean Breitzman, who was up in the 4th position before some difficulties, brought him down pit road. He was almost a casualty in that one. So Sean Breitzman is thanking his lucky stars that he was able to be alert and get through that. But a couple of drivers who were having some pretty solid runs there at the start of this one, Ottenbacher, Weaver, and Walters, all of a sudden, they got some damage and they got to take the fast repair.
About 6 cars involved in the incident. Ottenbacher, Walters, Hutchinson, Weaver, Paulison also involved. Stabnow barely made it through and avoided significant damage as well in that said incident. But once again, cautions breed cautions. Back half of the field elected to pit about 14th on back.
So we're seeing kind of a mixed bag of strategies here with drivers pitting and not. So I'm interested to see how it's going to go for these drivers who are on pit road right now. I'm noticing most of the drivers on pit road are drivers that were caught up in that accident, so they're going to take the fast repair, no doubt, and get back going. But a couple of cars that were not caught up in that also on pit road. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to unfold. Kevin Smith, the 00, kind of this, we've talked about it a couple times, Starcom Racing vibes on that 00.
Yeah.
And the Jakes Camaro is going to be the lucky dog, so he's going to get back on the lead lap and he can make his way through.
Yeah.
And remember, Justin, he qualified in the top 5, was running good before a penalty for lane change right on the restart there on lap 8, I believe it was. We talked about how that wasn't a death penalty. There it is. He's back on the lead lap, and now he's going to start making his way back to the field.
Wesley, you have an update from pit lane, though. Several drivers having to take damage repair.
Yes, sir, and a lot of resets to boot. Sean Breitzman has to do a reset. Bruce Lee Weaver with a lot of damage on the Miller Lite number 40. So does also the 00 free pass going to Kevin Smith. But again, a lot of drivers, a lot of top contenders with a lot of damage. As a matter of fact, Bruce Lee Weaver has not even fixed his car yet. He has not even done a reset. Car looks like a modified as he comes back out of the racetrack. I don't know how long that's going to last. But we're going to try to grab a word with the driver, Sean Breitzman, here in just a moment and get his take of what happened.
Indeed, we'll get those words as soon as we can. Once again, after this caution flag period, 106 to go this time by. And again, this is the importance of banking fast repairs in case of significant trouble. Sean Breitzman had technical issues, had to drop to the back, and was just able to avoid the trouble, Wesley.
Sean Breitzman, it's Wesley, LSR TV. What's your take of what happened to put us under yellow flag number 3?
You know, I didn't get a good view of it. It looked like I saw the 9 car and the 40 car kind of looked like they may have collided doors and it sent the 9 car up into the wall. Didn't get a good view, but saw it good enough that I could start slowing down and avoid it.
What is the handling of your car right now, and as well as everybody else's here, as we've had like a good 25-lap green flag run, but now we're looking at this green caution scenario?
You know, it gets really tight pretty quick. It seems like you can just burn the right front off of this car, and I mean, I felt 10 laps in, I was already tight and probably destroying the right front. So we're going to try to back it off here and just kind of see what we can muster up for the middle part of the run, hopefully, once we get rid of these cautions.
Reset, ready to go. That's the 46 of Sean Breitzman. Again, his thoughts on the wreck, but he's able to continue, Justin, here at Darlington.
Just a tiny scratch on the side of that 46. Other than that, car's nice and clean. Thank you very much again, Wesley. Still, lights are on top of the pace car. We'll see if they extinguish this time by in about a lap and a half or so. Of note, Daryl Tedric, your first DNF of the night. We were talking about this, Greg. Blew up on pit road. Unfortunate for him.
Yeah, and this is his first race back after a couple of weeks of not being able to get on iRacing and get seat time because he's been preoccupied with the real world 9 to 5. He's been all over Washington State for the last couple of weeks at his real job. This is his first time being able to jump back in the seat, and now he is done for the day. But I believe Wesley has one more driver as we get set to go green.
I do, guys. We were going to grab him for an interview before they went back for the restart and then had that calamity here at Darlington. Chris White in the number 3 position right behind the West family. Chris, this car looks really, really strong here tonight.
Oh, it sure does. I'm glad to be at Darlington. I love this track. It's a lot of fun. I got a win with these guys in this series back when we were driving the Xfinity cars, so we're looking to do it again here tonight.
What's your take of the first 50 laps of the race so far?
Car's a little loose in the early going, and it tightens up a little bit, then gets loose again, and it's just about being patient. Just got to be patient, and I'll wait for these West boys up here to make a mistake, and I'll capitalize on it here shortly.
Part of SimStar Racing, that's his thoughts. He's in P3 right now. Justin Prince, as we get ready to come back to green. That's Chris White.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And again, thank you to Chris White for taking the time to speak with us during this caution flag period. Again, starting in third position, bottom line, row 2. One of the biggest movers and storylines of the night. Alongside him, Joshua Marcy, +3 from the drop of the green flag tonight. Starts alongside him. Off and away go the West family racing cars. We're back to racing.
Devin West once again with a big jump. That time Dan West Jr. not able to hang with them, as well as Devin West jumps about half a second ahead of him already into turn number 1. White will clear Marcy. And Justin, how about the guy in 5th? He has been working his way through the field on a tear lately since that first caution, and he pitted early. Seth Fraser, the new look 32, he's up in the top 5, and there's the cat right in his rear view mirror. You got Paul Bearer and the cat. I don't think I ever saw that on WWF television when I was a kid, but we're seeing it here on LSR TV tonight.
I don't know if that's the best of combinations, but of note, Fraser does have a bit of right side damage, while the cat car's okay. So the cat seems to be giving a bit of good luck charm, providing for keeping that 333 clean as he tries to run away from Dan Lowther.
He's got the cat strapped into the 5-point harness tonight. Looks like it's doing its job so far. And I want to give another shout to Dan Lowther behind him in the 63. Started 15th, currently riding in the 7th position. So he's up 8 positions from the start of this race. And he's another one who's been preoccupied with some real world stuff for the last couple of weeks. Hasn't really been able to jump on iRacing very much. And here he is running well inside the top 10 right now. Good run for Dan Lowther, first race back.
Really looking strong. He's your biggest mover of the race, a +8 from his original starting position. That's Mine with damage in, trying to keep it off the wall, especially off turn 4. He's been keeping it near full car length just about every single corner exit. It's losing him time, yes, Greg, but it seems like he's afraid of smacking that wall with the safer barrier, shutting out like that in turn 2, for example.
Yeah, he's really keeping it off the wall. Behind him, I think it was Sean Brightsman at a big moment as he got loose off the turn number 2, I believe, was able to save it and not lose any positions, but he did lose some ground to Carl Burke as he was just about half a second behind him. It's going to be a little bit more now. But going back to what you talked about with Dan Lowther, he is kind of keeping it off the wall a little bit because that's something you might want to keep in the back of your head, is trying to keep it clean here, especially in the early stages. We're still 100 laps to go. So he's trying to keep it off the wall and not get the Darlington stripe so early. As he gets up on the wall a little bit that time, as he gets closer to it, still riding comfortably in the 7th position, and is actually beginning to close in a little bit now on the battle between Vining and Fraser. Just chipping away little by little. Carl Burke back there in the 53 also beginning to close in as well, beginning to put some pressure on the 63 of Lowther. So some good kind of cat and mouse stuff going on. Pardon the pun, as there's a cat on the hood of the 333 right now, but good little strategy going on here, 5th through 7th, some strategy racing going on.
Indeed, remember, Seth Fraser is coming into the pit lane twice. He's the highest running driver who has taken multiple pit stop services in this race. However, does have the same tire cycles compared to the other competitors so far. Now, the interesting thing's going to be, how long will Devin West hold on to the lead? Because we talked about it, Greg. After all that crazy fighting for second, despite all of that, once they got single file like they are now, the drivers behind gained 0.2 a second a lap on Devin.
And that's just showing how much the draft is affecting this race, which is something you don't normally see at Darlington, but with this new aero package, it's kind of the thing with going on here, as I believe Wesley Outland has an update on pit road.
I do, guys. I just grabbed and spoke with the crew on Seth Fraser's car. You just mentioned him a moment ago, and he says, why not, Justin Prince? Multiple pit stops? Why not?
I agree, absolutely. Remember, he didn't have the track position early on, sacrificed it early in case of trouble. Thank you very much for the update to confirm that strategy, Wesley, as here's the total pit stops. And as you can see, the drivers who have had some trouble today with several different pit stop cycles, most of the front runners have only came down to one time on a couple cautions ago to maintain the track position. So, despite the second pit stop, it's been working for Fraser. The next highest runner who's taken multiple pit stops is Sean Brightsman in 9th.
And Justin, I have a little bit of a follow-up point on that. We talked about this a little bit before the race. There's not as many cars in the race as we're used to seeing with this series. Car count's a little down tonight, so multiple pit stops, it'll take away track position, yes, but it's not as bad as it would be on a normal
Trouble back straight away.
because of the
Dan
smaller
Lowther.
one.
Trouble. The 63 has crashed hard into the inside safer barrier down the back straightaway after smacking the wall on turn 2. No caution. Harris also collected now with Walter. Still no caution. That's in 1 and 2.
And we're seeing it right now. This is because of what we talked about in pre-race. A wreck that would normally bring out a caution at another track doesn't necessarily bring out a caution here. And that's such a shame for Dan Lowther. Was up 8 positions from his starting position. Was doing a great job keeping it off the wall, trying to stay out of trouble. And that's going to come to an end here as he's on pit road. And he's going to have to take the fast repair.
This is what happened to Lowther after he smacked the wall off turn 2. We've seen how he was trying to avoid that all run so far, having to take the pit stop to try and get the damage repaired. There was also the secondary incident we talked about. That was with Walters trying to let by the 11, but right here, Harris hits the wall, collects Walters, and because there's no other cars around them, does not trigger the caution.
And it's just such a shame for those guys to not get a caution on an accident like this. And no doubt these drivers are frustrated with how that one unfolded. As I'm watching Frank Harris right now, a lot of damage to the rear of that number 11 car. He just got put a lap down. He is in the lucky dog position at this moment. But I was watching, and Kevin Smith, who is quietly working his way back up into the 12th position, had a big moment trying to get around Frank Harris. He was slipping and sliding loose. Looked kind of like Kyle Busch in his battle with Chase Briscoe a few weeks ago in the Xfinity race here at Darlington. He was sliding all over the place. Did a good job hanging on to it, but Frank Harris no longer in the lucky dog position now, as Ottenbacher is in trouble, but he's in the lucky dog position, but that 89 is in big trouble.
By the way, James Viney now inside the top 5. Slipped his way around on the pylon past Fraser. Brightsman now moving his way up. Burke as well. Also, multiple drivers having to come in with damage. That's Hutchinson without a hood, who has to duck down. By the way, here is an interesting one. Stephen O'Hare missed the start of this race. Missed the first 48 laps. He has now found his way onto the racetrack in the 41.
Was having some difficulties with his connection. Oh, Stabnow in the wall hard. Big hit for Jeff Stabnow. He is around on the apron, still no caution. He went in after maybe some contact with Tedric. Jeff Stabnow, he is in the wall hard. He's going again, but still no caution, and we're seeing how much that little bit of a strip that the racing action goes on is affecting it right now. Jeff Stabnow, a lot of damage to the 24.
Just kept it off BJ Tedric as well in that madness. It's been the consistent spot. Turn 2 exit has been the danger place for the drop of the green flag. Change for third, by the way, as we show the replay. Chris White now back up to third. Change for the lead underway. Dan West Jr. inside makes the pass on his son.
So Devin West leads the first 52 laps, led the lap at the line, but Dan West Jr. leading the way right now, looking to lead his first lap of the day. And the first driver not named Devin West to lead a lap, but his father Dan looking so strong and picked up a big win on Thursday at Auto Club, looking to follow it up here at Darlington. Crosses the stripe, new leader. It's official, Dan West Jr.
Already pulled away by 0.6 of a second, exactly what we've seen the last long run. But it seems like everyone's tires are going off. Wesley, this is the longest run of the race so far.
This is the longest run of the race so far, and I got an update on all 4 of those drivers that just had calamity problems here at Darlington without the visit of the Banana Republic flag as we still stay go, go, go. Problems for the driver of Dan Lowther, the number 63. He has to use a master reset. No ifs, ands, or buts to try to stay in this race. Corey Walters, I spoke with him, a little bit dejected. He really didn't want to say much except I got caught up in it, not of my doing. And then, of course, the other driver that we mentioned also collected of Harris. Frank Harris said, I've got damage on the front, the right, the rear. I'm going to try to wait this out. If my car doesn't start overheating, then I will have to do a master reset. But if I can wait for a caution, I'll be okay. Stab now, same thing. Car has been ill handling since practice. Qualifying was horrible. And now in the race, bad luck continues. All 4 of those drivers do continue, though, here in the longest green flag run here at Darlington.
Stab now 13th position. Harris now in 15th. Lowther in 16th. Amongst some of those drivers involved in some of the trouble. Thank you very much, Wesley, on the update. But already a lot of cycling around because there is damage now on that 5 car. He's been dropping pace and quickly. And that's now, according to affected Chris White, Joshua Marcy, and Sean Brightsman. 4 cars all under a blanket.
I was getting ready to ask you if you knew what was going on with the 5 car, because that thing was a rocket ship for the first 50 laps or so. Now with the damage, you're seeing just how much that damage affects a race here at Darlington, and just one hit to the wall can be a disaster for you. Typically you don't get more than a Darlington stripe, but with these cars, this aero package, that could be really bad if you hit the wall a little bit harder than normal. And we're seeing it right now with the 5 of Devin West as he's hanging on for second right now, but he is quite frankly holding up the 83, 35, and 46 right now because they are trying everything they can to get around him, and the 55 is pulling away as Brightsman able to get around Marcy behind him.
Marcy let him go that time by, but an update from Wesley involving West.
I did, guys, as soon as you were talking about it, as White just in the wall. Here's the thing, you hit the wall, it might not look that bad, but you could possibly mess up your car, as now Brightsman and Marcy are trying to get around Chris White for that position on the racetrack. But anyhow, back to Devin West, the 5 car. Hit the wall one time, okay. Took it up to the wall the second time, messed it up, and now he's got handling problems. He's got to hope for a caution to hopefully get it fixed.
See if he gets the caution because everyone's dancing around the track. James Vining just lost a position trying to let by a lap car, by the way, in the second grouping. Fraser passed by him after he went to the bottom of the racetrack to let by the 63. Fraser took advantage and just followed him right on by to make the pass.
Great job by everybody here. Battle for second as Brightsman is going to finally be able to get around Devin West. No, West with a good run on the exit there, battling it out for the second position. As these two have broken away from White and Marcy, that's resulted in the damage to the 83 of the 83 of White. Oh, Brightsman and West get together. West is boost, big slide, saves it. Contact between Brightsman and West there. Almost spelled disaster for the 5.
How in the world did he hold on to that car is a big question. He's been shuffled out to fourth and now has more damage. Carl Burke, though, has to come down and pit on only 34 laps on the stint here. An interesting call, Wesley.
Burke's on pit road, that throwback color, Carolina blue. Number 53 on pit road to the attention of his crew, his Chevrolet Camaro. All 4 tires going on, new 4 sides of rubber. Sunoco race fuel being added, tear off on the windshield. A quick track bar and wedge also being done.
Dan West Jr. just crashed down the backstretch, hit the outside wall off 2, has now spun and brings out the caution. What a time for that.
Wow. What just happened?
Dan West Jr. hit the outside wall off of the treacherous turn 2, spun down the back, just went enough up the track to trigger the caution, and your leader and quickest car on the track now has to use a fast repair, Greg.
And that is going to be costly for Dan West Jr. to have to use the fast repair. But, man, oh man. Suddenly, the 2 fastest cars in town, the West family, Devin and Dan, both with significant damage here. No doubt they're both going to have to use the fast repair here on this caution, but Man, oh man, it was looking like Dan West Jr. was out for a Sunday drive the way it was looking ever since he got around the sun. This is going to change the entire complexion of this race as Brightsman's going to lead him down pit road.
12 cars on the lead lap, by the way. Brightsman with a massive advantage with several lap cars between first and second. Chris White second into the pit lane this time, followed by Devin West, Marcy, and Fraser. The top 5 into the pit boxes this time, Wesley.
Everybody on Team LSR TV has made the decision on their crews. Backup cars for Devin West, Dan West Jr., who was leading and crashed. Seth, of course, Seth coming in. Jeff Stabnow's coming in. I'm sorry, that's what I was trying to say. The driver of Ottenbacher. All LSR TV cars coming in for service and new repairs. Backup car, back out. And Chris White is the first man off the pit lane. And wow, tough break for Team LSR tonight.
And a massively slow slap too for Brightsman, by the way. 25 seconds to the pit box.
And I'm going to try to grab Dan West too, Justin. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that.
Indeed, especially with that big moment that just shook up this entire race, because as Stabnow comes down after being the lucky dog under this caution flag, guess what, Greg? It's going to be very tight for fuel the rest of the way now.
Do you think someone might try to stretch it the final distance here, or do you think they may rely on one more pit stop here, because it's just cutting it so close right now?
I think a lot of those questions and more may have to be brought upon by Wesley, as he's now standing by with Dan West Jr. after a massive crash down the back.
And all Team LSR TV crews have made a decision to do a backup car on their repairs. Dan West Jr. leading and crashing here at Darlington. What's your thoughts on what happened?
Just a brain fade. Just try to get in a rhythm there. Car wasn't all that great since I was hitting the wall, tore it up a little bit. Tried to get in a rhythm and missed my marks.
Is it the virtual cloud cover? Is it nightfall settling in? Is it just Darlington? What is causing these cars to have these problems? And mind you, 3 different wrecks before the yellow flag came out with your problems. And by the way, your son gets an EOL penalty for Devin West.
Yeah, it's
correction on that. Never mind.
All right. Yeah, LSR TV team is running a little rough tonight. But we still got a lot of laps left. I'm not giving up. We got a fresh car now, and I just got to be smarter. I think the biggest problems that you're seeing out here is us drivers are just overdriving it. We just need to calm down.
Definitely dirt tracking these cars, dirt track style here at Darlington off of turn 4. We've seen that a lot off the exit of 4 and 2. Treacher's turn 4 is now Treacher's turn 2 now because of the rechanging of the start finish line at Darlington. But Justin Prince, we'll see if Dan West Jr. can get back on the high horse, dust himself off, and go back to victory lane.
Thank you very much, Wesley. With that, Dan West Jr. now deep in the field in P6. You heard that right. With the caution, he came out in P6 because 7th, 8th, and 9th all had longer pit stops, and Tedric had a 58 to 59 second pit stop. So, despite crashing down the back viciously, Greg, he's still in the top 10.
Gotta love it. You have to love it with how this race goes. Dan West Jr. in the 6th position right now. After all that, still right up there in the mix, and he's not done yet, Justin. This is going to be a wild race from here on out to watch Dan West Jr. try to make his way back up. He's going to start outside row number 3 on this restart. But we got a driver up front for the first time tonight, and it's a guy we've talked about quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. The 83 of Chris White. That switch to Ford looking like it's paying off once again as he's leading the way here at Darlington. And oh, by the way, Justin, just a little tidbit. The last time the Northwest Racing Series was here, it was the Xfinity Series at Darlington last season. The race winner was that 83 of Chris White.
Wesley is standing by real quickly, though, with James Vining. He's in 5th.
So you've heard of Grumpy Cat being a very popular social phase. Now we could possibly have James Vining's cat, the cat that is the stowaway cat, could be the new trademark of iRacing. How's things going in the 333? Your car looks really good here tonight.
Surprisingly, I'm doing really well. I had a real hard time in practicing, but I just backed the corners a little bit, and I seem to be doing okay so far, knock on wood.
Looking really, really good. We did not realize we're about to get the green flag. Make sure you lock that cat away and get ready to go back for the start.
Oh, yeah, she's in her harness. She's good to go.
There you go. There you go. We got Grumpy Cat Justin, and now we can get ready for the stowaway cat for James Vining.
James Vining, that start on the bottom side as the cat is in the harness as he goes side by side into one. Paulison backs off in that battle. Fraser taking away P3 on the high side, meanwhile for the 35 of Marcy. All single file now with the top 6.
Chris White with a good run off of turn number 2. 6-car breakaway before we get to the 58 to Stephen Paulison, who has had a nice recovery after his couple of moments earlier in the race, sitting in the 7th spot. Another driver with a good recovery, Jeff Stabnow, the 24, after his accident under green. Looked like may have been the end of his day, was able to stay on the lead lap, and he is now riding in the 8th position, trying to reel in Steve Paulson, who has caught the sniff of the draft on the 333 of Vining, and it looks like the 58 and the 24 are going to be able to attach themselves to the end of this freight train going down the backstretch into turn number 3 with Chris White, the engine in charge.
Keep in mind that 58 does still have that damage on the front nose that has been hampering him since one of the early caution flags. Stabnow with the clean race car has talked about during the caution flag with the team strategy to use the fast repairs. Stabnow, though, still not able to get the run yet to make the pass quite yet, is still single file throughout the group.
It might be right here as he gets a run off of turn number 2, and there it is, down the backstretch into turn number 3. Move Jeff Stabnow up into 7th position, and he has got a really good number 24 Ford right now, the Walls Bearco Ford Mustang. I almost said Fusion. I'm still kind of getting used to that, but no, it's the Ford Mustang, and yeah, Jeff Stabnow is bringing that pony for a ride right now as he's in the 7th position after recovering from that wreck about, was it 20 laps ago?
Just past halfway this time by, coming to 69 laps ago this time by. And what has been an interesting race so far here from Darlington Raceway, to say the very least. Chris White, Devin West, Seth Fraser, Joshua Marcy, Dan West Jr. top 5, Vining, Stabnow, Paulison, Smith, Brightsman inside the top 10 so far. Now the question's going to be, how long will those positions stay that way, especially with some of the speed differences we've seen with drivers on the long run tonight here, Gray?
Well, not much, as Stabnow is able to get a run on Vining. Move Jeff Stabnow up into the 6th spot now, going after Dan West Jr. And Justin, these drivers right here, the 24 and the 55, 2 of the strongest drivers all year long, and 2 of the all-time winningest drivers in series history. They're about to battle out for the 5th position. Not too often you see those 2 go in the war for 5th.
Stabnow, 33 career victories in Northwest Racing Series history, currently just about 12 back from his fellow teammate Sean Brightsman. The overall all-time winner, Mark Walls, with 53, just so happens to be the sponsor of that machine. Stabnow, by the way, one of the quickest cars on the racetrack. 28th lap the previous lap, dropped to a 28.6 that time by, however. The leader's in the 28.1s.
Tire fall off already beginning to creep up in some of these guys. As we saw that on that long green flag run earlier, the tire fall off was coming up in a big hurry. Right around this stage, we were really starting to see it. Meanwhile, look who's creeping his way through the field. Paul Bear's funeral parlor. Seth Fraser is up into the podium now. He has just gotten around Marcy for 3rd and is trying to catch back up to the 5 and the 83, but he's kind of struggling so far to try to get back up there.
Look who's also caught up, though. Contact for Fraser as Dan West Jr. looks to try and move up the pylon to the inside. Marcy trying to take advantage of the mistake instead. Taking advantage of that decision is Dan West Jr. powers by on the high side.
So Dan West Jr. able to get to 4th now. Remember, was leading the way when it was his accident that brought out the caution. So he's trying to get back up, and he's got a good run on Fraser here off of turn number 2. So Dan West Jr., no doubt one of the fastest cars on the track, once again trying to get up here back onto the podium. as he tries to get around Fraser. Meanwhile, up front, the battle for the lead is beginning to heat up as his son Devin puts pressure on Chris White once again.
See how Devin West handles that. Dan West Jr. now side by side with Fraser into turn 1, however. Got a massive run in 3 and 4. Couldn't make it stick, though, on the bottom of the racetrack in 1 and 2. This has been where Fraser's been struggling, though, has been corner exit. Last time by, Dan West Jr. got a big boost because he backed off the gas here and ramped it down the banking. Fraser's been trying to use the bottom and slide it up to the top. West Jr. takes advantage this time, gets the run down the front stretch, takes back P3.
That's what he was looking for, Justin. Just that one slip up to be able to capitalize. He found it and he got it. And now he's going to have to do some work, though, because he's over 2 seconds behind his son Devin, who's trying to track down Chris White. 2.5 back to the race leader. So Dan West Jr. waited, picked his moment, and got it. But now he's got to go back to work to reel in the top 2.
Gap has grown now to about 0.5 of a second, give or take. John Ottenbacher with trouble down the back straightaway. Ricky Boser apologizing over the radio. The 89 now with significant damage. That was because Ottenbacher tried to avoid Boser, who smacked the wall hard in the 42 off of turn 2.
Ricky Boser not having the night that he wanted. And it's a shame because he has had some very, very strong runs over the last few weeks in that 42 car. But you come out to this track, there's a reason it's the track 2 tough to tame. It is a very difficult racetrack, and if you don't treat it nicely at the start, it can be a long day. And it looks like Ricky Boser is having himself a long day because he's got some heavy right rear damage. That's more than just the strength.
Unfortunately, collecting Ottenbacher rather, as mentioned, though, which means he's now 14th, already 1 lap down. Choo Choo Train for 4th on back being led. Here comes the leaders, though, just avoiding Ottenbacher as they move to the high side. Check them up just a little bit. Gap is now down to only about 0.2 of a second, with more traffic still having to think about pretty soon.
And what this is doing as this battle begins to heat up, this is allowing Dan West Jr. to focus purely on catching up to them. He's already shaved half a second off from what the gap was when he got around Fraser, but now he's got to contest with the 89 of Ottenbacher. Shouldn't be too much of an issue as he moves by on the outside. And boy, Devin West lost a lot of ground there, Justin. He lost 0.3 of a second to Chris White that last time by, so he's got to try to reel him back in. And he's got to do it in a hurry because his dad's coming.
Last time by gained a significant 0.7 of a second. In the 28.9s, the leaders are running 29.2s and 6s. But an update on what just happened with the incident, though, Wesley.
Yeah, just spoke with the driver of the 42. His crew for Boser's car badly damaged. Actually, correction on that. Ricky Boser says my car actually is not that badly damaged. He does feel bad for getting into Ottenbacher. Ottenbacher's car, the 89 machine, really messed up. He's going to need another caution to try to make some type of a repair. Right now, he's just kind of hanging back in Possum in P14. And again, the driver, Boser, says, I did not mean to get into him, simply a racing accident.
And unfortunate for what happened for both drivers. Thank you very much, Wesley. 57 to go this time by, and guess who's creeped into the top 5? Jeff Stabnell. He is a rocket ship. He is one of the quickest drivers on the track at once more, running near similar pace to Dan West Jr. when he's been in the draft.
Jeff Stabnell, the backup car, working like a charm right now for the 24. It almost as if the backup car is better than the primary car, Justin, because remember how much he was struggling in qualifying in that 24 car and in the early stages, and wondering if maybe he should have rolled with this entry as opposed to the one he went with on the start. But he's doing a very fine job getting up into the top 5, but he's got about a second before he can get to the bumper of the 32 of Fraser. Meanwhile, behind him, another LSR TV entry going to the bottom of Joshua Marcy. That's Sean Brightsman. But Justin, Sean Brightsman's still having those technical issues, it looks like.
Now, Brightsman has dropped to the back several times with technical issues. Does have right side damage too. But he has been one of the quicker cars, mind you, when he's had track position. It's just his side of things have just not been able to hold on in that 46 for the time being. He's now in 6th.
Oh, Dan Lowther stopped down there in the apron. Looks like he caught the wall off turn number 2 again. And unfortunately, with this way that we talked about, that the track is laid out, no caution once again. But Dan Lowther, such a strong run in the early stages, is just going to have to pull into pit road. And he's already used the fast repair, Justin. I think this might be the end of the day for the 63.
He's coming down the pit lane. In fact, this time by after another smack to the turn 2 wall. He's hit it several times today. We mentioned the song Hit Me Baby One More Time. This is not the track where you want to be singing that in the cockpit. Let's put it that way. By the way, Brightsman slowly creeping on to the back end of Jeff Stabnow. Stabnow, though, quickest car again last time by. This time by, 52 to go.
52 to go, and remember, that's the number of laps Devin West led before falling back to his father, who has, by the way, narrowed it down to just a couple of car lengths now between himself and Devin West, who has lost track with Chris White. I'm almost wondering if Devin may have caught the wall again and gotten a slight bit of damage. I don't see any, but it could be what's going on there, because remember, not too long ago, Devin was right on the back bumper of Chris White, putting the pressure on. Now he's fallen back 1.4 seconds and is in the clutches of his father.
See how this all turns out. By the way, Stabnow has reeled in Seth Fraser right behind them as father and son fight just up the road. You can see now Stabnow just able to wheel it up on the top side. Wesley, though, you have an update of what's been happening with Lowther in his car.
Yeah, Dan Lowther, you know, a lot of people think he's out of the race, but he's actually not. He says he's got about 4 minutes of damage repair left where he can try to do something, but with that being said, he is going to fall many laps down. Just very disappointing. Wanted to have a good, strong effort in that number 63 car. And again, just a tough day for him and several others here at Darlington.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And one of the things we haven't talked about now, with 50 to go this time by, is we started in late evening here at Darlington. The lights have been on around the racetrack, and with the massive clouds, there hasn't been the opportunity to see the sunset. It is just about full darkness here at Darlington. And what do they say when the lights turn on here at Darlington? It gets crazy. The second race of NASCAR's comeback to racing is a good example of that, Greg.
Oh yeah, who could forget what happened there between Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott late in the going.
Stabnow wall.
Stabnow got in the wall again, as he got that while Wesley was down there chatting with Dan Lowther. And Seth Fraser caught the wall a little bit there too while Wesley was down there with Dan Lowther, but not as bad as Stabnow. So Stabnow once again catches the wall a couple of times, and I think Dan West Jr. may have caught the wall also, as he is very slow right now.
Got stuck behind traffic with Corey Walters. That costs him the spot. So now move Fraser into P3. That was from 15 car lengths back. And that's from the cause of not only hitting the wall, but getting stuck behind the 9, that entire sequence there.
Yeah, so Dan Lowther going to try to get that third spot back. He was right up on the back bumper almost of his son Devin earlier today, just a couple of laps ago. Now he's fallen back to Seth Fraser, who has gotten back up to third, but now we're seeing it though with the 55 getting back around the 9. He's able to go back to work on Fraser, who caught the wall there. So we're really starting to see these guys knock the wall down here late in the going, as they're saying, you know what, forget it, it's time to go here at Darlington. The lights are on and the craziness is definitely coming.
West Jr. has been keeping the car fairly clean, has had a strike this run. But another hard hit to Fraser's right side. Moves to the bottom of the racetrack. Get back P3 to Dan West Jr. with that significant hit.
Fraser with a big hit there. Someone behind him also shot down the apron. It might have been the 58 of Stephen Paulson right behind him, right about the same spot that Fraser hit the wall. I believe it was Paulson hit the wall as well. And he now has to recover. Does the 32 of Fraser, trying to get back in line. He does behind Dan West Jr., but this is going to allow Jeff Stabnow to close back up. Remember, before West Jr. had the issues with lap traffic, Stabnow was beginning to put pressure on for Fraser, and Fraser not letting it get to him as he's going right back after Dan West Jr. And West Jr. gets the wall that time.
Everybody's smacking the wall, to say the very least, here at Darlington. 45 laps to go here at the place they call Too Tough to Tame. Chris White, by the way, leading by 2 seconds. He has now been the quickest car on average on the long run, by the way, the 83. on the racetrack outside of only one guy, Sean Brightsman. The past 5 laps, average of 30.256. Brightsman on average the past 5 at 30.241.
And Chris White knows his way around this racetrack. The winner in the Xfinity Series last year at this track, trying to win the first Cup Series race here at Darlington. And this was kind of the spot of the resurgence of Chris White. It was his win here that really started that late season run that White was able to go on. Hasn't really had the luck so far this season, but that switch to Ford really seems to have gotten him back into that rhythm he was in at the end of the season. And we're seeing it once again here, leading laps at Darlington. The spot of his first win of the season last year in the Northwest Xfinity Series that ran on Monday nights. Right back up front once again.
Remember, he is the highest ranked driver of the point standings who has not had a single victory in 2020 in these Cup cars, the Northwest Cup Series. Realistic remains the question. Change once again for P3. Dan West Jr. and Seth Fraser swap spots after Dan West Jr. nearly smacked the wall off a turn 2 at the right rear this time. The only driver that hasn't been smacking the wall in this group here, Greg, has been Stabnow, it seems.
And Stabnow caught the wall a few times before this started, so he's already got that out of the way. He's hoping as he's watching these guys bounce off the wall in front of him to try to reel him back in, trying to get a run on West Jr., who instead gets a run back on Seth Fraser. Looks like third place might be going to war once again. And behind it, if you're Jeff Stabnow, are you kind of just riding right now and letting these guys sort it out and hopefully do a little bit too much damage to their car so you can get a run like this off of turn 4?
Stabnow given the spot this time by West Jr. Stabnow the quicker of the two drivers. And they'll cycle on forward. Lap 100. Coming to 40 to go this time by Leslie. Let's go through the field.
Chris White is the fast man on the racetrack in that Ford number 83. A strong run, looking for another win on the LSR TV Northwest Cup Series. Look for him to make something happen here in this 40-lap stretch. It's been a good run for him all night long. Devin West, fast qualifier, in the number 2 position. He's right there mired, less than a second behind Chris White. Had a problem with his car, had to do a master reset. The car's been flawless since. He sits in the number 2 spot, moving by more lap traffic of Walters, running down the leader. Oh, yes! Seth Fraser in that WWE Paul Bearer car. One of the best runs he's had in a long time. The Ford is strong. He is strong. Looking for a good finish here at Darlington. Jeff Stabnow, one of the all-time winners of the Northwest Cup Series and Northwest competition. The Waltz Beard Co. number 24 LSR TV entry had to do a master reset on the backup car. Since then, the car's been comfortable. He's just not trying to overdo it, as he knows there's still a lot of racing left to go.
Trouble down the back straight away. Pardon me there, because Seth Fraser from 3rd spot just smacked the inside wall. And more trouble for these cars. By the way, Wesley, they've been pitting in this cycle with the top 10 run through.
They sure have been pitting. Carl Burke is on the pit lane, so it's been Smith, and the 53 car we just mentioned coming to his pit stall right now as he's getting ready to have service. Another car, the Jegs entry 00 on pit road of Kevin Smith. Those are going on as we will continue to try to go through the field once this chaos happened with Seth Fraser. What a tough break for him. Let's pick up now with 4th place. Third, Dan West Jr., Daddy Dan, looking to try to get another win on the series. He struggled with his car. He right now had to do a reset. He's looked comfortable in the 3rd spot after starting this race in 2nd. Where did the Bass Pro Shops Mobile 135 of Joshua Marcy come from? His debut inaugural run here tonight with the Northwest Cup Series. He looks good. He's strong. Bounced off the wall a few times, but he's not been in any trouble. He's currently in the number 3 position right now. Other drivers we're watching as more green flag pit stops are underway with Chris White, Dan West Jr., Fraser, Paulison, all coming to pit road. We were mentioning Paulison. He's got a good run in the top 10. Sean Brightsman is 9th in the 46 car. He's had highs and lows throughout the race. And how about John Ottenbacher in 10th, 1 lap down. But again, just trying to salvage some type of a good finish here at Darlington after some bad luck. Late race pit stops underway with 35 to go, and that has been your through the field pit stop scenario here at Darlington. That's lap 100.
We talked about it, if drivers could make it on fuel, let alone let the tires make it to the end. We got our answer. Only Stabnow and Tedric haven't pitted. Stabnow's crashing. Down the backstretch, locks it up. No caution, however. Collected Carl Burke and the 0-0 of Kevin Smith having to go to the apron to avoid him. Smith now in the wall as Stabnow comes down to pit.
That could have been a lot worse for the 0-0 of Kevin Smith. Did a great job to keep it gathered up, but that is definitely a pucker factor Zulu, some of these drivers like to call that, with Kevin Smith having to dive down to the apron to dodge Jeff Stabnow, who makes it on the pit road, give the lead for the first time tonight to the 72 of BJ Tedric, but he is on old tires, and boy, Sean Breitzman just got a heck of a run off him. We're seeing what these fresh tires can do right now. Tedric, remember Michigan when he stayed out and tried to make it work? He's known to try to take some risks on a long run, and he's trying it once again to try to lead a few laps, get the number 72 up front here on LSR TV. There's only 3 cars in the lead lap, so why not?
Stabnow just came out of the pit lane, 15.8 seconds. Stop, and a caution is out on the front straightaway. And a big-time caution. Joshua Marcy involved. Fraser smacked the wall off of turn 4 in a spin, and everything's just been flipped upside down.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Well, that's what we call the iRacing Space Program for Fraser, unfortunately, but wow, indeed.
Joshua Marcy doesn't have a hood on the number 35 Bass Pro Shops entry. Seth Fraser went for the space in the 32 car. I don't think that was what Paul Bearer had in mind when he was when he agreed to ride along on the 32 tonight. And there was only 3 cars on the lead lap, and that caution came out, Justin.
Now there's only 2 because some of the cars who were on the lead lap were in the caution. So BJ Tedric is now the leader. Only Breitzman was on the lead lap. Everybody else is now in a spot where they'll have to take a wave around. Wesley, what a time for that to happen.
BJ Tedric now the new leader in the Winston Noble colors of the number 72, shades of when Jimmy Spencer was running NASCAR, known as Mr. Excitement. Tedric's car as the new leader in P1. Sean Breitzman will now go to second. Free pass will go to Dan West Jr. Well, actually, it looks like they're circulating some more cars on the lead lap, so I'm not sure who they're going to give the free pass to. Might be Jeff Stabnow. Just spoke to Jeff Stabnow. Said, Wesley, I bounced off the wall. Carl Burke had nowhere to go, and he got into me. Now the question is how badly damaged is my car? And fellers, I'm not going to say anything else about drivers like the 32 of Seth Fraser or the 46 of Sean Breitzman or the 35 of Joshua Marcy anymore about how good they're doing, because every time I do, I create the announcer jinx and they crash.
They call it the commentator's curse in iRacing, Wesley, and I guess it came into play a bit there, but Dan West Jr. did get the lucky dog. Stabnow did have to come down and pit, though, to get the damage repair, so he does not take the wave. Vining sacrifices a wave. Ottenbacher sacrificing a wave would have been on 43 lap old tires. Paulison and a couple others thinking about it. But here's the thing with Darlington and how the pit stops work here under green flag conditions. Depending on how far back in the leader you are, Gray, you can go up to 2 laps down. Guess what? There are only 5 cars, including wave rounds now, who are in position to be on the lead lap.
How does that work out for BJ Tedric? Can that work out any better? He's going to be in the lead, and with only 5 cars on the lead lap when we go green, BJ Tedric is in prime position for a top 5 right now. We hadn't mentioned his name except for maybe in passing earlier today. And much like the Michigan race, here we go. Late race restarts, and BJ Tedric is up front.
Question is, what happened with the 32 as well? We've seen it on the replay being sent up to the moon. Wesley, you've caught up with him after his space shuttle trip.
Well, you know that Seth Fraser is driving the WWE colors of the great Paul Bearer that says, oh, yes. Well, he just told me when I jumped in there to communicate with him, he said, oh, no. A tough break for the driver, Fraser. A good run for him. car all tore up. He said, Wesley, my car got tight. I had nowhere to go. And Marcy just hit me. And why? He's having netcode issue. Netcode issue caused that crash for the driver of Seth Fraser.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And so here is the scenario once the lights come off the pace car. Only 4 drivers are even taking the wave. Paulson to get back on the lead lap. He is only on 6 lap old tires. Burke is also taking the wave to get on the lead lap. He was involved in the contact of note, though, with Stabnow. Everybody else taking a wave or not is 1 lap down or more in this situation. That includes drivers trying to get 1 lap down. Devin West is currently 1 down with the wave. Chris White, 1 down with the wave. That caution could have come at a worse time for those drivers compared to what happened with Tedric.
And that's such a shame because look at these drivers who are stuck a lap down. Devin West, you've got Chris White, Dan Westheer is on the lead lap, but Justin, that is 2 of the drivers who led almost the entirety of this race, Devin and Chris White. Now they're pinned a lap down and in desperate need of a couple more cautions because now it's going to be really hard for them to get back up there. But that couldn't have worked out better for BJ Tedric. But I got to admit, I'm a little bit worried about Sean Brightsman in the 46 car with the connection issues that he's been having in that 46.
Several drivers just had technical issues of note. Brightsman, Lowther, White, Vining, Marcy, all have vanished for the track for the time being. We'll give you an update if we can on what that situation is, but that means for the time being, just 4 cars technically on the lead lap. Lights are out. It's Tedric in first, Dan West Jr. in second, Paulison currently technically in third as a wave, Burke in fourth. Again, that is all depending on how these drivers cycle through. Brightsman and the rest of the drivers with technical issues falling down the pylon. Terrible luck.
So this race just got turned on its head. And Dan Lowther, his connection has dropped. He is in the pits. Chris White, his connection just dropped. He is in the pits. Done after such a strong run all day. James Vining, his fell through. Joshua Marcy fell through. Seth Fraser behind the wall. There goes Sean Brightsman. They're dropping like flies right now.
Hey guys, I got an update on this. There is a server issue on iRacing. They're saying that they're losing one of the servers, and that is what's causing drivers like Vining and others to drop out like flies in this race. There was, I guess, an East Coast server and a West Coast server, and whatever's happening on the West Coast, their server for iRacing has crashed, and it is causing these drivers not to lose their internet, but they're losing signal to run the race. That's why we saw so many cars drop out so quickly, and they are not happy.
And here's the situation too, Wesley, with this just announced over race control. Red flag thrown with this situation. Haven't seen this in a while for this type of race, Wesley.
It's a first for me, actually. I've never seen anything like this ever. They're going to bring all the cars onto the pit lane, and they are going to stop this race in efforts to try to get everybody that went out back in, because honestly, guys, it's not their fault.
Absolutely. And this is understandable. So everyone coming down towards the lane, instructed by race control. Red flag is out for the Darlington 191. Again, red flag is out here at Darlington.
Yeah, this is a first for me also, Justin. I've never seen this before. Wow. Justin, the pace car just kind of went Ghostbusters on us and just went through the pit wall. And I've seen that happen before, so not only is the server going on with the issues, but the pace car just went into ghost mode.
We'll try and get everything sorted here. Take a step aside for the time being. Again, 26 laps to go. Red flag is out at Darlington on LSR TV. Welcome back to what has been a confusing period, to say the very least, here on LSR TV. And what is an iRacing first, at least for many of us tonight? Justin Prince, Greg Brents, Wesley Outland, Charles Wooden. Red flag for 20 minutes due to a server issue where half the field ended up having technical issues. Never in the world have we seen a situation like this in a while. To reset, BJ Tedric is the leader. He was the leader coming to 1 to go when many drivers had technical problems. One of just 5 at the time coming to the stripe who would have been on the lead lap. There are now 25 laps to go in the race, with Tedric still the leader. They are currently checking timing and scoring and official positions for each and every one of the drivers in this field. Now, there is one less driver, though, compared to when we were originally going to go green. That's because during the caution flag, Corey Walters reportedly had a throttle stick slammed to the back end of Ricky Bozier, who pin-pawned into Kevin Smith. Ricky Bozier is now a DNF, currently scored in P9, projected to go to as low as 14th on the pylon. We are still trying to confirm timing and scoring. That's why there's still lights on top of the pace car to sort where everyone has to be. Greg, this is something we have not seen have to have happen during a green flag or any mid-race situation, especially with the chance for a lot of positions on line and points on the line here with 24 to go this time.
This is about the closest you're going to get to a rain delay on iRacing, what we just had. BJ Tedric, he's not happy that this race is going green. He thought, hey, we're past the halfway distance. I'm in the lead. Let's call it. Let's end it like they do in real life. But unfortunately for him, that's not how the cookie crumbles this time, as he's going to be leading the field to green flag racing here momentarily as he has worked his way back up. Sean Brightsman is currently being scored as the race leader because they were trying to get some drivers who fell off their laps back under that red flag, and they accidentally gave Brightsman too many. So Tedric trying to get back up to the lead now, but man, oh man, this is definitely not what you think when you think craziness at Darlington. We said the lights go up and the craziness comes out at Darlington. This is not what we meant.
To put it lightly, tempers had been flaring on the radio a little bit with this situation with several different drivers involved. Again, Vining's affected, also involved, as mentioned, due to troubles. Dan Lowther also affected as well was Brightsman and a couple others. Wesley, you have an update.
Yes, Dan Lowther, sounds like his race is going to be done for. He is not going to try to attempt. Jeff Stabnow, just checked in with him. Of course, he's one of the people behind the Northwestern Cup Series iRacing League, and he says, and I quote, we're just trying to get the field back assembled into what we feel is the best right order on the racetrack. Of course, they're looking at multiple replays before the red flag came out on lap number 114, putting everybody back in their spot. BJ Tedric, he said, I wish this race could have got called, but unfortunately, that's not the case. They're going to decide this thing out here at the Lady in Black here at Darlington. Too tough to tame. A crazy, crazy race. I've announced iRacing in my second tenure. I have never seen anything like this before, but I got to give props to the Northwestern Cup Series officials to make this right. It looks like the lights are off on the pace car, gentlemen. We are ready to decide this thing here. Oh, they're going to put the caution lights back on. I thought we were coming to green, but it looks like we're going to make a couple more adjustments on the scoring. Anything like this before?
Haven't seen anything like this, especially this late into a race before. We've heard of technical issues before for drivers. We haven't heard of red flags at this extent. All the leaders, though, have been told to come down to the pit lane again. They are still trying to sort who is supposed to be on what lap. That is, again, the reason for the delayed yellow here is what we're hearing over race control radio in session. That's why half the field is knocked down, including majority of the lead lap cars, and anyone who feels they are on their proper lap. Anyone who does not feel that's the case is still staying on the track, is the understanding here. At this point, Greg, this is going to be one of those races where it may be difficult to try and focus back.
Yeah, this is really going to play a role in the race how this goes down, because we are, like you mentioned, you're going to have to get yourself back into the zone. You were in the zone. You were 115 laps into the run. Now you got to pause and just kind of hang out and wait for a while. So you really just got to hang tight and try to get yourself back into the rhythm as soon as we get going. And all these lengthy delays and these throwing back of the caution and now a second red flag, essentially, that's really going to throw you off your game.
And the driver that got the worst luck out of this situation, Dan Lauder, we mentioned his troubles. He's standing by with Wesley.
Okay, Dan, so this is something for me. Give a description of what was going on in the cockpit of the 63 car and what happened that's now inadvertently taking you out of the race here at Darlington.
Yeah, so when we were under those claps there, Brightsman had been having some issues, and so I thought maybe it was just him at first because he was near me, and then all of a sudden everybody on my screen disappeared like I had lost connection, and so I started looking at my connection and everything was fine, and then it kicked me completely out of the race room, and now I can't rejoin.
So that's the thoughts of Dan Lowther. Dan, it was kind of a disappointing day for you anyway, but I mean, this is kind of something that's got to be fixed for sure, so it doesn't cause you to lose races or be taken out of not of your doing.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, for me, it's just kind of an insult to injury because I'd already been having a bad day, but I feel pretty unfortunate because it looks like Seth Fraser also hasn't made it back in, and he was having a good day, so I hope they can get it resolved for guys like him that were actually up there in the running still.
Yeah, Seth Fraser in the Paul Bearer car. Remember, he was the one that was flying through the air that brought out the most recent caution. And again, that's the thoughts of Dan Lowther, Justin Prince, Greg Rentz. They have withdrawn the red flag, and the field is back behind the toe of the pace car around Darlington.
Yes, indeed. As these drivers still try and sort things out here. Right now, they're projected at about 20 to go when the green goes. If the scoring is right, that's going to be the big question. If it is the case, the lights are out for the time being. Everyone's being told to double check they have the proper scoring here before they get a green. Hearing one driver still may have a correction here before they go green.
Yeah, we're still trying to get this sorted out. Meanwhile, for those up in the grandstands, last call for alcohol and all hot food half off until this race is official with 20 laps to go. So last call for alcohol if you're over the age of 21. All hot food at the concession stand half off. 20 laps to go in this one. And it does not look like we're going green just yet.
Oh, wow.
The lights are out on the pace car, but they're still single file, so it looks like we're about to see another caution thrown out. So once again, half off on the hot dogs and cheeseburgers down there. Get yourself a Coca-Cola product, and we'll get set for this finish.
I think they are going great, is what we're hearing on the radio. Drivers are being told, do not stop on the track. Again, just about everyone's back where they're scored. Here is how this is reset. Tedric, Brightsman, Burke, West Jr., Paulison, and White are on the lead lap. Stabnell, West, Audenbacher are 1 lap down. Smith, Vining, Walters, 2 laps down. Bozier, DNF, 13th position. Joshua Marcy in 14th. Fraser in 15th. Now the pace car has dropped off, but the reason they are not rolling here again is with the scoring with Vining. They are double checking this one final time before they're officially allowed to go.
So Brightsman trying to get back into his position. And Tedric, you know this has got to be driving him crazy in the cockpit of that 72 car because he is leading the way. Honestly, let's talk about what got BJ Tedric to the race lead in the first place. He was staying out and stretching it as long as he possibly could to try to make it work and catch a caution. He caught the caution with Seth Fraser's incident, and now this happens. So you know that's got to be driving him up a wall in the cockpit of that 72 car right now.
By the way, for those curious, they can make it on fuel with the pit stop calls they made. They don't think they were expecting this to be the result of green flag pit stops and a caution flag in the middle of the cycle. There goes Vining to get his extra lap back here. This is to put him back to 1 lap down, which would score him inside the top 10 of the 333. Outside of that, just about every single other driver is in their proper position. We are hearing from race control for the time being. So We'll see what happens once Vining reaches the back end of the field, as everyone's now lined up to where they are projected to be with this situation.
Still under a caution flag condition right now. Pace car is already pulled in. So green flag came out, but they still aren't reset yet. So they are still trying to set this all out. Man, oh man. We've been joking about it in the tower, but to quote one of the best broadcasters of all time, have you ever?
No, I've never, at least in a few years. Let's put it that way. Chris White, by the way, has ducked down. Remember, we mentioned 5 cars were on the lead lap prior to the 1 to go signal and the situation, so he's down to the pit lane now. Again, they are logging laps, by the way, in all of this to add to the confusion, so this is getting more and more into BJ Tedric's wheelhouse here.
Remember, fresh tires on that 72 as well, as he pitted right before this happened under that caution. What a gutsy call by the 72 to stay out there as long as he did, to put himself in this position in the first place. And now, I can't even imagine what's going through his mind right now in the 72 as they just click laps away, and it's so agonizingly close to the finish of this race.
Wesley, this is one of the more confusing scenarios I think many of these drivers have been a part of. What are you hearing now from your side of things?
I just checked in again on the radios with the Northwest Racing Series staff, and they just said the director is calling for the cars to remain single file. So yes, they're losing laps, race mode, but they're at least still trying to get this race going. What they are going to do is have Chris White come down to the pit road. He's got to get, he's to back a lap down, is what they're saying. You see Chris White at the tail end of the at the pit entrance, pit exit actually, and they're waiting for the field to pass. White will then be put back into his position. As you see that happening now on the scoring ticker on the pylon, Chris White is dropping down. They're going to have him get back into position, and then once they get that car back in the right scored era, the pace car will not come back on the racetrack. They are going to be at a start on their own. They're going to go to the box beside one another, double file. Tedric and Brightsman will be side by side. Wes Paulison, row 2. Everyone else will then go in their position, and we will go back to green flag racing. The pace car and no caution will be called unless there's a wreck. They will stand and start when they come to the box this time by, I believe, or at least the next go around, is what I've been told. No pace car, no caution. They're going to be on their own in their own restart box. They're pros here on the Northwest Cup Series. They don't need a pace car to get them to that line. Did y'all get all that?
Yes, indeed. A lot to process, to say the very least. And Brightsman is currently calling this as well, mind you. He's a part of the race control team, mind you, and is currently trying to make sure everyone's on the same page here with this situation. Tedric is now over the radio saying what he needs to say to try and make sure this all goes right. We've seen starts without the pace car before, Greg. We haven't seen it with this big of circumstances before.
Never seen it in a position where it can affect the outcome of the race, and we're only going to have about 15 laps of green flag racing remaining once this one gets back going, which I believe will be this time, as it looks like they have finally got double file. So we're going to see how it unfolds. Remember, there's only 5 cars on the lead lap right now, just to throw a little extra spice into everything that has happened over the last 20 minutes or so. BJ Tedric leading the way. Sean Brightsman and Dan Western, 2 of the fastest cars all day, are right behind him, second and third. Tedric using some pit strategy to put himself in position. Here he comes. Race is in his hand finally.
They will get a count for when to go. 16 laps to go. And what has been a confusing sequence for the Darlington 191. BJ Tedric off and away. Green flag is out. We're finally back to racing.
Have to say that is without a doubt the longest caution I've ever seen on iRacing, and we're back to going here, and these drivers now have to get themselves back into the rhythm, and this is more like an actual race at the home track, Carlbert. going off after contact, I believe, with the 8 or the 24 of Stab now. And this felt a lot like a local race, Justin, with these drivers kind of sitting there under caution, maybe some scoring errors going on. This felt closer like a local race than anything we've seen so far.
Stabnell's also ducked off the racetrack, by the way, was in 7th position. He's now pit, but Brightsman's now in 2nd, Tedric in 1st, West Jr., Paulus, Burke now the top 5. Everybody else is off the lead lap. The question is, will it stay green?
And BJ Tedric is doing a great job right now, keeping that 72 out front. And Sean Brightsman, who is in 2nd, just hit the wall, getting himself another stripe on that car, and that's going to open the door for Tedric to pull away. This race might be falling into the 72's hands, as he is about 0.6 of a second up on Sean Brightsman right now for the race lead, and trying to pull away here in the closing stages. Just over 10 laps to go.
Yeah. And remember the contact we mentioned. Kevin Smith got pin-pawned from behind with a contact with Beaujolais with Walters. Kevin Smith has now reached the incident point drive-through penalty, so the 0-0 is now in a situation where he needs to come down to serve the penalty and the next lap, or else his race is done from the top 10.
So Kevin Smith definitely not the way his race wanted to go, and that's such a shame for him too, Justin, because of how he got some of those incidents with that incident on pit road. That's got to be frustrating for you, because you're not even in control of what happens at that point. But someone who is in control right now, BJ Tedric, looks like he is in control. Looks like the fact that they didn't call the race may have irritated the 72, as he has opened up 2.3 seconds on the 46 of Brightsman. I've seen BJ Tedric drive like this in person one time, and if he can drive a car like this, look out. BJ Tedric is on a rail right now.
I think he's on right now the high-speed rail train track, because he was a second quicker last time by than Brightsman, West Jr., Paulus, and everybody. Craziness for second. The 46 nearly spun around. West Jr. now dives his way for second.
You get second, but it's 3.1 seconds to BJ Tedric. Does he have enough time with 10 laps to go? As, boy, where did the 46 fall to? He fell behind Devin West and James Viney. Those guys aren't even on the lead lap. Brightsman fell to the tail end of this one. And now Dan West Jr. is going to try to reel in BJ Tedric. He just crossed the strike. Let's see how it is with West Jr. as he crosses the strike. 4.3 seconds. Another second gain by BJ Tedric in the 72 car. And we are at 10 laps to go right now. And that 72 has a 4.3 second lead. And you know right now what one single thought is going through BJ Tedric's head. Green flag, green flag, green flag.
2 more drive-through penalties for incident points. Kevin Smith hit the 53 coming out of the pit lane and triggered one for Carl Burke. So it continues to be a spiral now for the 0-0. By the way, one more 4X and the 0-0 would be done for the race.
That would not be as a result of a server crash on iRacing. Unfortunate for the drivers who were caught up in that with the situation. Boy, BJ Tedric has opened up a 4.3 second lead. It stayed the same the last time by, but Tedric caught the wall just a little bit going into turn number 3 last time by. Still opened up another 10th on Dan West Jr. It's now 4.4 seconds back. West Jr., he is riding the wall, trying to get up to Tedric and give everything he's got to try to get up there. Paulison sitting in 3rd right now after it's all said and done. Brightsman was in 4th, and he just pounded the wall. The last car on the lead lap just hit the wall massively, and he's coming down pit road. Looks like we're only going to have 3 cars on the lead lap at the end of this.
You talk about wacky races, this may top the list. Brightsman now in with significant damage. That car nearly spun several times. On the difficult pit entry, that means it's now Tedric, West Jr., Paulus in the top 3. You talk about wacky races. Well, now, with how much the field was held up behind Brightsman, the gap may be too big to close up if you're West Jr. More than 4 seconds.
And it's growing. 4.5 seconds now. Tedric another 10th quicker than Dan West Jr. Looks like BJ Tedric has summoned his inner driver that we have seen countless times in the Northwest over the years. The guy's won just about every major race there is to win here in the Northwest. Has never won a Northwest Racing Series event. Looking to change that tonight. this would be a story for the ages. I've heard some pretty great BJ Tedric stories about how races were won with him behind the wheel, but I gotta say, winning the race by stretching a run and then catching what happened under caution with half the field dropping out because of connection issues, that would be an all-time first for me. And he is trying to just click these final few laps off. 4.7 seconds ahead of Dan West Jr. right now. BJ Tedric looking very, very poised right now.
Make that 5 seconds now. 4 laps to go. And he's got the cleanest car on the track, mind you. Everybody else on the lead lap has at least one hit to the right side of the right front fender. West Jr. has it. Vine, the 4th place car, has it. Paulison has that crushed and notices now to be able to use his faster pair in 3rd spot. And mind you, Wrightsman has also just came out of the pit lane after his trouble just about, and now is officially ducked out of the car. He's now in 11th position. This is not only going to be a big win for Tedric, but a big swing in the points for the entire field after this wild, wild race.
I can't wait to see the points situation after this. Daryl West Jr. looking like he's going to come home with a 2nd place, but after that, who knows what's going to happen with the rest of this race. Remember, West Jr. already, I believe, used the fast repair as well, so even if he catches a caution, he's still in big trouble right now in that number 55 car. But BJ Tedric just riding out right now. And right now, all he's hoping for is to get back to the white flag. And he's got one flat car ahead of him, the 35 of Marcy. And how about Josh Marcy? Such a strong debut run. Not going to end the way he wanted it to. But man, oh man, good run for him. But BJ Tedric is going to see the flag that he has been waiting to see. White flag for the 72. BJ Tedric is 1.3 miles away.
What a race that has been. When we started this 191-mile race, we had no idea what type of craziness we had in store tonight. Everything and then some happened, to say the very least. But in the end, BJ Tedric has all the lucky charms go his way. The 72 is a winner of the Northwest Racing Series. BJ Tedric dominates and wins at Darlington.
A gutsy call at the very end, and it works out for him. What a moment for BJ Tedric in the 72, and of all ways to win a race, that has got to be one of the most bizarre that we've ever seen.
Dominates his way to the stripe. 8.85 seconds the gap. That was the biggest gap anyone in the lead has had all night long, and he kept the car nice and clean. That's one of the main goals when it comes to Darlington, Greg, and guess what? That paid off for him along with that strategy call. If he had damage, that car might not have ran away like it did.
No, sirree. And remember, Michigan, earlier in the season, he found himself in a very similar position, trying to make it work on a long run. Couldn't get it to work, but did it this time, and he gets himself a W here at Darlington. And no doubt BJ Tedric's happy with being able to pull off that win.
This will be a story to end all stories to end all stories. Something drivers had not even seen a red flag. Situations these drivers had not imagined to happen once every 1,000 races. And as this celebration gets underway, BJ Tedric is a winner. Let's take a look at your unofficial results after a wild one here on LSR TV. BJ Tedric won, starting in 11th position by 8.8 seconds over Dan West Jr., Stephen Paulison, the only drivers left on the lead lap. Chris White recovered to 4th after losing 2 laps due to pitting from the race lead. James Vining finished in 5th with the Cat car, with Devin West in 6th. Ottenbacher, Burke, Stabno, Walters rounded out a topsy-turvy top 10.
Kevin Smith, unfortunate way to end the race after a strong run, comes home in the 11th spot. Sean Breitzman was up at the front row at the very end of that one. He falls to 12th, 7 laps down when it's all said and done. Joshua Marcy making his debut in 13th. Scott Hutchinson 14th. Ricky Bozer doesn't finish in the 15th position after having that issue under the red flag. Seth Fraser, strong run, but comes home in 16th. Dan Lowder, unfortunate, not let back in after the red flag in 17th. Frank Harris, Bruce Lee Weaver, Daryl Tedric, and Stephen O'Hare round out this field, Justin.
Unfortunately here, by the way, of note, we mentioned he came back on the racetrack, could only turn 4 laps before he had a technical issue pop up. 4. He is the last runner in this race. A confusing sequence to say the very least today. Man, oh man, a race to end all races, to say the very least. Let's quickly jump into the Clan Wars post-race show, the official communication partner of LSR TV. All the drivers are standing by as they, I think, have a lot to process. Wesley Outland, first things first, is standing by with third place Stephen Paulison, holding on to finish third.
Well, first off, Stephen Paulison, what a comeback for you! I know you've struggled in a lot of these Northwest Cup Series events and truck races. This has got to be like a win for you to be on the podium in third tonight.
Oh yeah, this is great being on the podium, and you know, I persevere. And
Steve Paulison, do you have a copy?
Yep, are you there? Huh, I should be there.
Okay, Justin.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Apparently, there's a technical issue with Wesley Outland. We will see to work to rectify the issue, but
okay.
You're
there. He is. There he is. There he is.
There it is. There.
Steve, do you copy, bud? Do you have us?
Yeah. This third place is great. I persevered, and I persevere and get thirds every once in a while when everybody else has more issues than I do. It was a strange race, and really, it was great that everybody worked so hard to get us back going again on that red flag. I don't know how they did it, but it was very complicated.
A collaborative effort for sure for everybody to definitely can continue this race. But again, as I said, you know, you've struggled a long time. Third place is like a win for you tonight.
Yep. Yeah. I persevered, and I think kind of these are the kind of tracks maybe just surviving is a skill of its own. The end was pretty tough. I got in the way of the race between James Vining and Devin West, so we all went different ways. I don't know what happened to Sean. He was probably wore out, him and Jeff fixing up the red flag situation.
Well, a good job for you, third place. Again, the driver of number 58, Steve Paulison. Justin, a driver that has normally struggled for many races on the Northwest Cup and Truck Series tonight for iRacing. He finishes in third. That is Steve Paulison.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Paulison on top 3 finish. Thank you very much, Wesley. Standing by with the second place finisher, Greg Rentz, is on the radio with Dan West Jr.
Yeah, Dan West Jr., Greg Rentz, 3YTV. You got a copy?
I do, Greg. Go ahead.
Well, Dan, that was definitely one for the record books here tonight. That was probably, without a doubt, the most bizarre race we've ever had here in the Northwest Racing Series.
Yeah, unfortunately it was. You know, at the end of the day, though, congratulations to BJ Tedric. He did an awesome job. He did everything he had to do. When that green flag flew, he was gone. So he was obviously fast, and he deserves the win. I feel bad for Sean Breisman. That's the unfortunate thing when you're an admin and trying to race too. He was fast. He just couldn't concentrate at the end there and tried to get out of my way, and then I got into him, and it's just unfortunate. I'm happy to get second. I'm not a second place car tonight. There was faster cars out there. Just things happened, and we'll take second and go on to the next one.
Dan, we saw you kind of struggling in the early stages of the race with keeping it off the wall. You got yourself the Darlington stripe pretty early, but you were able to recover pretty well and stay up there in the top 5 pretty much the entirety of the race. Tell us a little bit about what happens to the car after you get yourself the Darlington stripe early like that.
Well, when you end up knocking the right front fender off of it, and it loses that downforce, so then you end up trying to save the car, but you end up burning the right front off. So then what's it do? It's, you know, it's like a magnet. It just kind of pulls you back into the wall again. So, because you're still trying to keep pace with everybody. But when I end up using my fast repair and I got a new set of fenders on it, it was amazing how much downforce that was and how much better it turned. But then obviously I ended up overdriving it and back in the wall again. So just wasn't my night.
Well, hey, it wasn't your night and you come away with a second. That's a stat that I would like to have. But man, oh man, it was a wild night through and through. But at the end, you're here on the podium, man. I know you got some people that you want to thank, so let's hear your shout outs.
LSR TV guys, thanks for hanging in there with us tonight. It was a rough night. I'd like to thank Sean and Jeff Stabnow. Those guys worked pretty hard trying to get everybody lined back up. That was something I probably would have just threw the towel in and said, hey, let's just finish wherever we're sitting now. But those guys worked hard and through the frustration was able to get us going again and at least complete the race. So I'd like to thank Effective Web Solutions and Northwest Racing. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dan. Second place on the night, West Junior.
I'd like to thank him for taking the time to speak with us, but man, oh man, did everything have to go in the way of some of the drivers tonight. It went BJ Tedric's way this evening. BJ standing by with me. BJ, how does it feel to be the 31st winner in the history of the Northwest Racing Series?
I gotta be honest, I'm pretty pumped. I don't typically run great with these guys. I've changed some things over the last few weeks, some different wheel settings, and it's helped me kind of long run protect the right front tire. They typically run tight setups, and like Dan was saying, when you knock the fenders off of it, I think it's tight really bad. And I typically have that problem myself, knocking the fenders off of it. So I typically don't run good at Darlington. I don't know. Everything just kind of, all the stars aligned, and it was just, the luck kind of fell my way. I knew early I had a pretty good car, but I bashed it off the wall, and I wanted to save that fast repair. And then we had that long green flag run, and I kind of didn't start off that great on that run. But as the run went on, my car got a little bit better, and we were running. My spotter was telling me I was actually a couple tenths faster than the leader towards the end of that run. When they all started to pit for tires. So I thought, well, I'm not going to beat them by pitting and following their leads. So I thought, I'm going to hop out of here and just stay on this track and not take their same strategy. And then the yellow came out, and I think there was only 2 of us on the lead lap, us and Brightsman. And then the red flew. So on that last stop, I had him inadvertently, I said, hey, go ahead and click that fast repair so I have a fresh hot rod with clean fenders on this thing. And luckily, right after that was that red. So when we started that last section, I had a brand new race car. Not only did I have new tires, but I had a full brand new race car. And I knew that if I just didn't do anything stupid, I was going to have a pretty good shot at it. And then once we got clear, I just was able to put together some laps. And like I said, the stars aligned. And I don't think a lot of people are going to believe it, but hey, Tedric got a W.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was going through your head when everything went, like several dozen things, mind you, went your way in the span of a turn of 25 minutes?
So we went from, so here's what's going on. I'm jamming along, and my spotter's like, so-and-so's pitting, so-and-so's pitting, so-and-so, okay, you're the last one, you got the lead. I said, well, let's just ride this a little bit, see if maybe we get cautioned about 5 or 8 laps. That way they all have wear on their tires. They're all going to pit. I'm going to have the lead. I might catch a couple of them a lap down. And then that yellow came out where I was like, well, it's a little shorter than I wanted to think. A lot of those guys are going to stay out, and we were kind of going to come out around 5th or 6th. But no, the way it worked out, there was only me and Brightsman, so we both repitted, and we were 1 and 2, and that's when everything went haywire. So it went from, all right, let's try just to outlast these guys a little bit, to doing my rain dance, trying to figure out how much stuff can go wrong before they just say, let's call it. I didn't think I was going to go out there and win it in an all-out drag race, but
Overall, it's your first career victory in not just this series, but your entire time racing in this organization. Next race, though, is going to be a challenging one. It's Miles the Monster time. Dover, Delaware. Your thoughts on Dover?
My thoughts on Darlington were I'm going to run probably okay, but I'm going to wipe the right side off of it, and I was shooting for a top 10. I came out of here, with a top 5 alone. I don't know what to expect next week, honestly. Like I said, I've been messing with some wheel settings. I've been trying some stuff, and it's really helped me long run. Keep the right front tire on it, and I knew I was going to be a good long run today anyways. So hopefully with Dover, some of that same stuff bleeds over, and I'm just looking for another good run. These guys have put together an awesome couple of series, and in fact, as Rents knows, Rents also announces for us, we have another league, and this is my first league between both leagues. Like, I don't win. I don't finish top 5. I'm usually like a 7th to 10th place guy, and I mean, I've got okay speed, but you know, it just all went the right way tonight. And he said, Jeff said, you know, this might put you, if you meet all the rest of the requirements, it'll put you into the playoffs, and that's cool because I've never been invited to something like that. So I feel like I really achieved something here. You know.
Is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your victory tonight?
Man, mainly I just want to say thank you to Sean Brightsman and Jeff Steb. Now I know what kind of work it takes to operate a league, and like I said, we have our own, the Northwest, or actually the iRacing Northwest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Products. I know what kind of work it takes and how much headache it is, and then when you got these guys running around in the yellow, complaining about silly things, arguing, and it takes a lot to get excited to come out every week and do that, and they do it twice a week, and I have a lot of respect for those guys, and they're both incredibly knowledgeable, wicked fast, and probably the 2 of the cleanest guys I've ever raced against. So you know, honestly, I'm grateful for those guys to give us a place to race, because you don't get iRacing races that are this competitive. They're just crash fests, and in here racing with these guys once a week, you have something to look forward to. You guys do an awesome job broadcasting, and I've watched a couple of them now, and it's kind of enjoyable. You guys have great attitude, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thank you.
Congratulations on the victory. You mentioned it. With the victory, pending if you make the requirements, locked into the postseason as the 7th different winner in 2020. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you guys, all your hard work, and see you again next Monday.
Thank you very much. That was BJ Tedric. I'd like to thank him, Dan West Jr., and Stephen Paulison for taking time to speak with us for post-race coverage here in the Clan Wars post-race show. But lots to unpack. Final thoughts. Let's go down the line. First, Wesley, your thoughts on how tonight's race went down.
Have you ever? I've never seen anything like that in all of my years of announcing esports. In my second tenure, I never knew anything like that could ever take place. But I mean, obviously, anything that can happen, there's always a first time for everything, and we saw that. But I have to give props to, of course, our awesome are part of Northwest Racing Series, Sean Brightsman, Jeff Stabnow, all of the crew, the officials. When things messed up, they had that hiccup, they quickly got back to work and did the best that they could to make this race conclude, instead of throwing the red flag and saying, hey guys, the race is official. And when we saw it, we saw an awesome opportunity for BJ Tedric to not only steal one, but have to fight to win one. And he definitely deserved the race in the end. A crazy night, a lot of crazy scenarios. On this night, June 15th/16th, because I'm an East Coast guy, where it's falling a flood in North Carolina, I will never, ever forget this race at Darlington.
I'm in the same boat. This is a race that will definitely be talked about a lot, to say the very least, in memories for a lot of us here in this booth tonight. But the next race is a chance for more memories to be made, because, Greg, we're going to attack Miles the Monster next week at Dover.
One of my favorite tracks on the circuit, Justin. I know I say that a lot, but the concrete 1 mile of Dover, one of the most unique tracks on the circuit, one of only 2 this year that the Cup Series is hitting, Dover and Bristol. And Dover has produced some great racing on iRacing over the years, and actually I've had some of my best runs in my driving career on iRacing at this track that we're headed to at Dover next Monday. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do. Not a lot of drivers like going to Dover a whole lot because they don't like how tight their cars can get on the long run. So I'm curious to see what these guys do to try to combat that throughout the next week, to try to get a good setup under them for next week's race.
With that, a lot for these drivers to reset upon once things all shake down after what was one of the more unorthodox, bizarre races in the history of LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Once again, we'd like to thank you for sticking around with the red flag situation, and for those as well who have stuck around for entire post-race coverage and throughout the action today from Darlington Raceway. For my broadcast partners, Wesley Outland and Greg Rentz, for our producer, Charles Wooden, it's time to say goodbye. I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you next time when the Northwest Truck Series attacks the same track on Thursday.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.